You're processing marital issues in your scripts? That's weird. I've never done that.
No. Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes. We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. Danae, when you can't think of something within a second and a half, you just make a noise. This is what you do. Spur of the moment stuff. It was beautiful.
You could have said my car smells like Wendy's. I mean, that was a perfect.
You had stuff. You had stuff that'll be in the outtakes.
Much.
Yeah, there was so much to go with, but you went with.
What is Brahms? By the way, have I asked that before? What is Brahms?
Oh, you Brahms. Don't have Brahms.
Brahms is
that the Dairy Queen place?
No, well, we've talked about this. They are a dairy, but I think they're more known as fast food.
No. That was just the only thing I could think to compare it to, or like Twisty. What is that? They're in Florida. It's like Twisty Cone or
I
something.
have no idea.
But it's an ice cream place, right?
As a drive-through snob, Brahms is at the top of my pyramid because they only will have a restaurant within so many miles of their farms. So they actually source their food from their own farms.
So is it?
And then they have like a little market
hamburgers
as well.
And stuff, or is it just ice cream? Oh, okay.
Hamburgers, and then they make their own ice cream.
That's why I compared it to Dairy Queen.
Yeah, you can buy.
And they have really, really good tea as well. That's one of the reasons I love to go there is because their tea is delicious.
You can buy a gallon of milk there too. They sell their own milk. So yeah.
So is Brahms a dairy farm out there?
Well, I think
Purity. It's a fast food restaurant. That's what it is. But they have this interesting, kind of farm to table kind of thing going on.
You can go and tour their farm if you want to. Not right now because of COVID, but their farm is in Oklahoma. So you have to be within a certain distance of the farm for there to be a Brahms, from what I understand.
They also wrote some really great classical music. So I don't know if you knew that, but
Danae's eye roll was classic. Too bad you couldn't see that, everybody.
Yeah. I do want to know because we have to start our show, and I realized that, but
we have started our show, so you're good.
I love fast food so much that I literally just want to talk about Brahms history right now.
I like fast food too, but we don't have anything like cool. Like we just have the usual stuff. Oh, we have Culver's. I don't know if you guys have those. Those are Midwest. Those are like Wisconsin.
Yeah, they're now. We have Culver's as well. The thing you have that we don't have that I found interesting, if a little bit basic, is that place that has all the different shake flavors. And also has like fair food kind of stuff, like corn dogs and burgers and.
You're talking about Cookout?
Yeah, Cookout. I'd never seen those till I was in Nashville.
Those are. I can't remember where those originated. It wasn't here. It might have been Kentucky. Yeah. I don't know, but we just got those in the last 10 years. Yeah, those are pretty tasty.
Yeah, that's not bad.
The shakes are amazing. The malts or whatever you call them, because they have 87 flavors.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of choices.
Also, the thing I like about that place, though, is that's the only place I know where sides are like corn dogs and stuff. So you can get a hamburger, and then with your platter, you can get for your sides, you can get a corn dog and nuggets. So you can have a hamburger, corn dog, and nuggets
as your meal.
Shake.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Aaron, I have a great idea for you because you're a super taster. So
yes,
you open up a restaurant called Super Taster.
I've talked about this.
People will think that it's going to taste super, but really they go in and everything
it's gonna be bread sandwiches.
It will be. Yes, I have talked about this. I have talked about the idea of doing a super taster restaurant where everything is plain, everything is bland, and only super tasters will love it.
But it sounds like dessert-wise, though, you eat. I mean, you can have flavor there, or do you?
Well, it depends. Icings, cheesecake, those kind of things, I cannot do. Like anything that
too rich.
Yeah, is rich. Is really annoying. But yeah, you would come.
It will literally be you'll have your bread sandwich, and then you'll have a cookie, like a chocolate chip cookie. And then
yes.
I just offended Barrett this morning because I wrote a sentence in a script. I send fudge cake because I hate fudge cake.
But here's the thing about.
And he was like, "That's like sending Betty White."
Everybody loves fudge cake. Why are we sending fudge cake? I love it, but why?
Here's the thing about the chocolate chip cookie at Super Tasters, the restaurant. The chocolate chip cookies at Super Tasters are not semi-sweet chocolate chips. They are milk chocolate chips. That is very important because the semi-sweets are too bitter. And so, yeah. So there you go. I'm telling you.
Is there an example? Like, is there somebody that does real...
The right cookie? Me! I bake amazing cookies.
There. Danae's the answer.
Because I'm assuming like Chips Ahoy is probably the semi-sweet, right? Like stuff like that.
Well, the thing with Chips Ahoy is I just taste the processing. I don't like them either. The chemicals.
I prefer my cookies like freshly made.
Yep.
I prefer my cookies before they're baked in raw dough form.
Now, you got to be careful. I just heard somebody compare eating cookie dough to not wearing a mask and got my hackles all up.
Weird. I'm not a cookie dough person, but I do not agree with that. I will say though, although I wouldn't just eat cookie dough out of the thing, I do eat cookie dough ice cream occasionally, so I get it.
They're like, everybody knows that you could die from it, but they all do it, and that's why I'm not wearing a mask.
How could you die from cookie dough?
You can.
Raw egg.
The raw egg can, in some cases, kill you. It has happened. It literally has happened.
Yeah, and that's true. And like cookie dough ice cream, it's not like real cookie dough.
Right,
like
correct. It's processed.
It's processed.
It's pasteurized.
Yeah.
But let me be clear. The one that I'm eating is one I just made the dough myself, and it is absolutely raw egg. And I am still eating it.
And it
was nice doing this show with you.
There's a little bit of danger with the uncooked flour, too. Flour can have...
But don't people eat raw eggs, though? Isn't that like a protein drink and stuff?
Yes, it happens.
But that can kill you? Like if you're trying to do the Rocky thing?
It's very rare. Your initial response was the best, Danae. Just perfect. We should actually get into a show. This may be the longest intro we've ever done. But
sorry about that, everybody.
No, congratulations. Enjoy our fast food opinions.
We're a day early, so I guess we think we can take all day. So that's we're gonna record till tomorrow.
We had a special episode last week, and so now we have so much to say this week.
Well, you're not wrong, because before we get into the SinSide Scoop, we do have a couple things that we missed last week that people have said they want to hear our opinions on.
Yeah, I totally watch these videos. Go on.
So what we're going to do, specifically Onward and Phineas and Ferb were the ones that fans really wanted to hear our thoughts on. So we are going to talk about those from last week. Okay, let's go ahead and do that within the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week and a couple from last week, the process of sinning them and how we felt about the show or movie in general. With Onward and Phineas and Ferb, we're not really going to talk about the actual sin videos that much, but people did want to know our opinions on those things. So let's start with Onward, which I think all of us have seen. Jonathan, have you seen it?
Yeah. Chris and I did a mini pod on it.
Right. So we've all seen Onward. So this is one of those rare occasions where all three of us may have an opinion on the thing. I don't probably need to say much. People are pretty aware of my Pixar thoughts in general, and I think this is a great movie, but I would love to hear Danae.
Real quick, though. I'm sorry. Do you have a Pixar movie like you would call bad?
Cars 2 is right on that line for me. I'm not sure it's a bad movie, but it's not a good movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be the one.
Roger Ebert loved the hell out of that movie, though. That's still the thing about Cars 2 that always kills me, is like Roger Ebert gave that like a 3.5 star review.
It's amazing. I
don't think he even liked Cars very much, but he loved that one for some reason.
I genuinely like Cars. I think Cars is a really good movie.
So you like good? Well, Cars is fine, but you like Good Dinosaur?
I actually really like Good Dinosaur. It is on another podcast I do. It is one of the classic episodes where my co-host and I argue about Good Dinosaur while Danae tries to
keep the peace.
Yeah, tries to be the intermediator for our argument.
No, I've only seen it once. My only problem with it was it felt like it was two movies that were fighting against each other, and that was the part of it I didn't like. But it's harmless. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion about it. But you were asking Danae her opinion. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Onward, Danae?
I watched it so that I didn't get spoiled on it, because it is one that I was really interested in, especially since I was seeing a lot of D&D references. And I actually started watching this at a friend's house. I don't know if I can say that it was your house, Aaron, because then that will indicate that we actually broke social distancing.
People know that we hang out. I think that's
you watched the movie together. That's so cute.
My husband, I think it was my daughter wanted to come over.
Yeah,
and
your daughter
hang out.
wanted to come over and hang out. Yeah.
And so we texted Aaron, and then we went over, and Justin, my husband, hadn't seen Aaron's like movie setup. And so we went over there recently, and he put on Onward on the big screen, and we actually stopped watching it because Iris was getting a little overwhelmed with the action of the movie. And so it was like one of those, I have to go back and finish this before we send it on the show. And so my husband was kind of bummed because I watched it without him. So sorry, Hughes. Definitely finished watching it. I actually finished watching it in my office on my computer.
That's a very different experience than how you started the movie.
It was so different. It was like I went from a theater to like my smartphone screen. It was really, really alarming.
Well, are you talking about like your laptops? 'Cause see, I watch stuff in my office sometimes, but I have like another computer. Like I have a bigger computer monitor.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, when I send stuff or when I'm watching on my own, I only have my laptop screens to kind of.
I don't know how you guys do that
so far. That might change in the future, but anyways, to stay focused, I just want to let you know I sobbed by myself watching this movie, which I was really alarmed because I did not. I always think I know where movies are going, and oftentimes I do. I find a lot of movies and TV shows to be extremely predictable, which I think most of us can relate to that. But for whatever reason, I thought Onward was going to be going in a completely different direction, and where it landed was unexpected, and it was heartwarming, and it was heartbreaking at the same time. And so I was just sobbing, like thinking about the sacrifice of one of the characters.
I wish I had gone first now, by the way. Go ahead.
To the sacrifice
he's about to come in and say he didn't like it, but continue.
There was the sacrifice of the brother to allow his brother to have a really important moment in this movie. It was unexpected, and that just hit me. Thinking about the main character, like the little kid, I can't remember his name now, but thinking about just putting myself into his shoes. And I have a dad that's always been around. And so, but my husband doesn't. And so I was also thinking about how my husband might be watching this movie as somebody who didn't have like a father figure that was really around in a way that was positive. So I don't know. It's a good movie because it takes an angle on relationships between men and families that I don't often really like see. There was no female for me to like relate to, and I really appreciate that in a way.
Oh, that's interesting.
You didn't relate to the woman that owned the restaurant. She seemed
actually maybe yeah.
What was she? She was Griffin.
She was
Manticore.
Manticore.
Yeah, that's right.
Octavia Spencer voicing the Manticore.
Well, I was curious too, Danae. This seemed like maybe it'd be something because it's not like a straight like D&D movie or anything. But isn't the brother the Chris Pratt? He's into like role playing, he's
older
into
brother.
But it's role playing based on the actual creatures because they exist in this world, right?
Yeah. So and the references to that, like, I guess to just talk about the actual kind of plot points of the movie that I really did enjoy, that was certainly one of them. Like just the adoration of this van and how that kind of plays out in the end. And I don't know, it's just for me, I had fun because it was an adventure. This is like a straight up adventure one. I know that there's parts of it that people are annoyed by, but that's just true for any movie. For me, I had a good time watching this one, although if you start to think about it, there's ways that it falls apart, but I can't deny that this one really touched my cold dead heart.
It's really funny when we did the mini pod, Chris ended it with something like, he always does, did you guys see it? So on and so forth. And then I can't remember what he said. He said something about him, and then he said, Jonathan has no heart. So that was really funny. But no, I don't feel strongly about this movie. I just didn't like it. I never got on board with it, and it didn't move me in any way. So I mean, I don't really have anything to say about it other than I just didn't like it.
No, you're good. Sometimes that happens.
I didn't like the characters.
No, don't feel bad.
And I don't feel bad. I'm just saying I don't really have anything like. It didn't annoy me. It didn't move me. It didn't move me in any way whatsoever.
That reminds me.
But it wasn't like something like Bloodshot. I mean, it wasn't like that kind of level.
Right.
Oh, I thought you were saying it wasn't like Bloodshot, one you love and adore.
No. Those just came out right around the same time. So in fact, this Onward Onward is unfortunately going to probably be the lowest grossing Pixar film ever, just because it came out the week before everything shut down.
For real.
I
was told to read the book The Notebook when it came out, before it was turned into a movie. And it was a group of women that were like, you have to read this. It's just so amazing. And so I was like, I don't really want to, read this. And they're like, no, it's going to make you cry and get emotional. I was like, I don't have any. Okay, you know what? I'll
Sign me up.
So then I read it, and they literally were watching me as I was reading like the intense part of the book where they all they were like waiting for me, and I'm just like reading it like this dead robot, and they're like, you are so heartless, you're so cold, how could you hate? And I'm like, this is just. So anyways, you're talking about Onward, like I didn't feel anything. I'm like, dude, I understand that. I feel that.
What was weird to me though, and I remember talking about this on the podcast, was that luckily I've been the luxury of having two father figures in my life. They both passed away though before I saw this movie. So the dead dad card usually gets me. So I was really shocked it didn't get me.
Well, and I think
and I don't know why, but everything felt very contrived. Like the whole thing, I didn't feel that fantastical element that you got out of it. So I love most Pixar movies.
I think it's interesting because the dead dad card isn't the card that the movie plays, and I think that's what's so surprising. That's what's so surprising about it. And Danae, I'm in the exact same boat. In fact, I wrote a sin to this effect that they somehow sneak that brotherly love thing in there, and I just was not ready for it. Like it's all there. It's perfectly set up. Like all the clues are there, everything is there, and it's just like
it's not often that like you fall into where the movie wants you to fall into anymore, because everything seems to be really paint by numbers and expected. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're sobbing because you're like, but that's not the part that I was necessarily crying at, like the brother revelation or whatever. I guess we're getting kind of spoilery but like that part didn't get me. It was a different part.
I agree with you, Aaron, because by the end, like you're saying, the dad doesn't even really, I guess he helps them get to where they get.
He's almost a MacGuffin in some ways.
Exactly. What I was saying was that if any movie has anything going on about a dead father, like I'm automatically like, and in this one, I just for whatever reason wasn't, and maybe that's why. And then the brother thing, I don't have a brother, so you know, and I get along with my sisters, so I
guess, and I do have a brother. Maybe that was part of it. I don't know.
Maybe, but I have had friends though where their father died or a parent died early on, and the older one knew the parent better than the younger one. I have seen that dynamic, and it's interesting.
Well, I will tell you, when Barley is telling Ian about his last experience, I guess in the hospital with his dad, and how he had tubes hooked up to him, and that my wife was gone. Like she was sobbing beside me, just because it's so recent in our life of me being in that situation. And I think there's probably a combination cry there of I was there, but also how thankful and grateful I am, to be here where I am now. And so, that Onward just, it really hit home for my family in that way. But I really love the movie. I think it's funny too. I think it's a lot of fun. I think Chris Pratt and Tom Holland are obviously having a lot of fun together. And I had a good time with it. So.
Hot take: Aaron loves a Pixar movie.
Right, exactly. That's why I said I don't.
Where is this in your ranking? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, it's again, Pixar ranking is a really weird thing because it's there's 12 A+ movies that are all basically tied for first, but this is right under that. This is in the
the second tier.
The second tier for me. So
that's
really
high. That's high praise. There's only like 2 or 3. Like I don't like Cars 2. I don't like Cars 3, and I don't like Good Dinosaur. And I didn't really care for this, but I still like this quite a bit better than those 3. But
I have a soft place in my heart for the ones that are, in my opinion, underrated.
We talked about Monsters University. I love
Monsters University is one. Brave is another one I think is underrated.
I like Brave. I do like Brave.
So I have a soft spot in my heart for
Brave was one too, though my daughter fell in love with. That was one of her first movies to fall in love with. So I have that attachment to it. And she loves Meredith, and then my wife's name is Meredith. So a lot of of people call her. A lot of like my daughter and her friends will call her Merida.
Oh, that's cool.
Fun.
Yeah, so
let's move on to Phineas and Ferb. A lot of people wanted to hear our opinions on this show. Lots of fans of this show, including myself. This is one of my favorites. I watched this with my boys. This show's been on a while, and I don't even know if it's still airing new episodes. I don't think it is, actually.
I think it's been done for a minute. I could be wrong.
But it definitely hit that sweet spot of parenting for me, where it was one that my boys and I could watch together and have a great time with. And so, yeah, I'm a huge fan of this show. And a lot of what I love about the show is right there from the beginning. Like, this show kind of knew what it was straight away. So that's kind of fun, too. What are you guys' experience with...
I did actually. I made the joke about not watching the videos. I did watch these videos. That was the first time I'd ever seen any part of an episode. I didn't have, it came out when I was older. I didn't have kids at the time. It's not something my daughter ever latched onto for whatever reason. So I've never watched it. I will say at Epcot, I don't know if they still do this, but I know a few years ago they had I don't know what you call this, but it was like in Epcot, kids could play this like virtual park game based on it's like they send you on an assignment.
Oh yeah.
And it's based on Phineas and Ferb, and there's like you go to different parts of the park and there's clues and all that kind of stuff. And my daughter did that with my nieces and nephews one year. So that's like that's literally my only knowledge of the show is just playing that game with
when
my
we
daughter.
When we were at Animal Kingdom, our families together, Danae, we're at Animal Kingdom, and we played that Up game that was like that, where you had to get the badges across the Animal Kingdom, and
yeah, it was like that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So yeah, but I liked the video, and I'm sure this is a show I would enjoy. And maybe because it kind of felt like that kind of DuckTales type fun, exciting adventure type show, and I like stuff like that. And it seems
clever.
like it seems like it has a genuine it seems like there's genuinely good humor in it.
Yeah, it's
not
very
just
clever
kid humor.
Yeah,
very clever. Yeah. So I maybe it's something. I don't know if it's something I'm going to jump on just because my daughter's older. I'm not. I don't watch cartoons a lot anymore unless we cover them. But I could. It seems like it's a good show.
Danae, what did you think?
It seems like it's a safe show to watch because it's not. It's just pure silliness. It does remind me a little bit of SpongeBob in its wackiness, where it's impossible things are happening, questionable things are happening. But this is like I hadn't seen the show before. It's two brothers or whatever they are, basically inventing crazy stuff and adventures, and their sister trying to catch them in the act. And if that's what this show continues to do with crazy imagination, inventions and things, I can certainly see why this would be a lot of fun. It's got a really addictive opening, and I love the introduction of this haphazard bad guy and Perry the Platypus, who I didn't actually... Aaron was the one who introduced me to Perry the Platypus. I didn't even know who that was, but when we first started working together in radio, I remember I used to go like this, and you'd say, "What are you doing, Perry the Platypus?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm just growling."
That should be your Christmas album.
That's right.
That would be even better, because that would be people like platypus. I don't know how platypuses sound.
I love platypus. I've always had a special, and this is no joke, I've always had a special place in my heart for the platypus. There was a time in my life where my mother actually hand sewed me a platypus out of socks and like a cutout part of a spray can and put like little eyes on it, because there were no platypus stuffed animals around anywhere. So she made one for me, and I loved that stupid thing.
Which is why you can hear your hate in the video of the fact that they're not able to be legal pets.
They're not legal. Sucks. They're so cute. They're little bills and their little webbed feet, but then they're not really ducks. They're these like weasel things, these little otters. They're just like this strange combination. It's like God put a couple things in a blender and it was like, here you go, and there's the platypus. It's so cute.
Yeah, that's the joke, right? Like,
it's the
there's like some old joke about
Is that the joke? I don't know.
I know. I've heard like variations on like, how do you explain the platypus? Like, if you don't believe there's a god, I don't know. I can't remember.
Maybe it's my spirit animal because it can't be defined much.
That's
like
weird.
myself.
I guess there really haven't ever been stuffed animals. Maybe they did once this show came out. But
for sure.
I'm a platypus at heart, I feel. So anyway, seeing the
that's
show...
your spirit animal.
Yeah, it's my spirit animal. So seeing the show for the first time was interesting because I had that flashback to Aaron telling me about Perry the platypus. So I was like, oh, this is the show. I had never watched it before. I thought it was really cute and a lot of fun, but my favorite thing about this whole experience was that on Archer, when we released Archer El Sequestro, however long ago, I went into the comment section and this guy, this person named Lost Legend said, please do everything wrong with Phineas and Ferb. And I responded, okay, because I knew it was coming. And then they respond, what? I should have said Gravity Falls. Please do Gravity Falls. And I said, shh, you can only use your power once. And then Lost Legend's like, no. And so then another person pops on named New Luna says, okay, well then I'll use my power. Please do Gravity Falls.
I did watch Gravity Falls recently though, all the way through. It's only like 3 seasons. It's not very many episodes. It's on Disney Plus because so many people had recommended that to me. And they said, being like a horror fan and that kind of thing, because it's not like a horror show, it's a kid's show, but it pays homages to like creature features and stuff like that. It's great.
Well, that's awesome.
I hope we do get to do it at some point. We've mentioned it a few times.
Wanted it to happen, but it was really funny to me because I don't know. I'm not supposed to go in the comments and be like, okay, but I didn't think that it would be taken seriously. But then it's fun because now all this time later, here it is, and so I just like to imagine that there's this like one person in the comments out there in the world. It's like, wow.
I've quit liking stuff under the TV Sins Twitter account. I've stopped liking stuff when people recommend like stuff for us to do, because then they'll be like, oh, he liked it, so they must be doing it. No, I liked your suggestion. It's Twitter.
I don't know. I had a good time with this one. I don't know, like story arc wise, if like where it goes as far as character development, but it has a lot of potential.
Nowhere.
Well, and Aaron's probably got a ranking of his episodes from best
That's
to
right.
worst,
I have all my
so we could just go through there.
Right.
I will say I did at one point in time start to take pictures of what I was sinning because their yard is impossibly confusing, and Aaron did a great sin about like the driveway and having to parallel park in your own driveway. That the overhead shot of the yard and the driveway and like where the car is and where people are going in and out of the backyard, and then the trees placement in a couple of scenes, it all kind of just moves around, and I really thought about like going at them. But then as the show itself was so ridiculous with like this roller coaster that goes to space and these kids that should all be dead, I realized that you can't really get nitpicky with that stuff because it's like continuity wise, it's sort of just like par for the course for the show. So, but yeah, it was interesting. It was really interesting to send. I had a good time.
The one thing that you didn't get to experience that does become a part of the Phineas and Ferb amazingness is the songs. They write some incredible songs for this show.
Oh, that's cool.
Through the show.
I love that.
And they're really, really fun. So
it's fun. You bring up the music, and that's going to be in my Beyond the Sins today. I've got something really exciting to share with you guys.
Are they
today.
are they all like 20-minute episodes though? Is that how they run? Because I just noted, I looked up it looks like the last episode, the new episode was 2015, but they did 222 episodes.
Yeah. And I will
over
also
4
say,
seasons.
I'll finish this up with two things. Number one, yes, they are stepbrothers, although that the way that happened is never brought up in the series at all. It just reflects the creator's kind of life growing up.
People don't have sex on cartoons.
So they are stepbrothers and best friends. And then the other thing is these are the same creators. Pretty much went on to make Milo Murphy's Law, which is another really fun cartoon that has.
I don't know that I've heard of that.
Yeah, a lot of people hadn't. It's way under the radar.
Is that Disney as well, or is that?
I believe
different?
so. Yeah.
Check that out.
I believe so. So yeah, Milo Murphy's Law is a lot of fun as well, but a lot of people haven't heard of that one, so I thought I'd mention that too. Cool. Well, that's from last week. Now we get to get on to this week. We're an hour
3
in.
hours in.
We're just making up for the fact that it was just barely an hour show last week. So
And when are we going to talk about the feedback from that episode? It was so fun. So do we take a quick another 20 minutes and I can read all the tweets?
Why aren't we talking about Angel Has Fallen?
Well, is there one that's really jumping out at you? They're like, I really love this feedback and need it to be publicly heard.
You're asking me to rank.
I'm just asking you if there's something at the top of your head like this can't be, I know we don't want to spend 30 minutes talking about feedback, but if you've got a couple that are just
I can do it.
Yeah, go for it.
I can do it. Because last week was like our best, not our best of, but like our recap, our year kind of recap. And I just asked for just general like thoughts on Twitter last week. And it was so cool because most people's responses were really similar. And so that's just what I'll highlight is the similarities between.
Well, why don't we? I thought you were talking about feedback from the Phineas and Ferb and Onward videos. No. This is perfect for the comment section. We'll just save this for the comment section and you can read all that stuff.
But I already have a comment for something else.
Well,
okay,
then
fine. I'll do them all.
You can
I'll
do
them all.
Since when do you limit yourself by the rules of this
I'll do
show?
it live. Fuck it.
All right, let's get into Brooklyn Nine-Nine from TV Sins this past week. The Box was the episode we did since we've already done the pilot. This was a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan and I wrote on this, and this may be the best episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like this is
up there.
Great episode of this show.
It's so good.
Why? Tell me why, because I didn't understand like why it would be the greatest episode.
Sure, Jonathan.
It's just very, very clever. It's very well. It's like this really tight, well written, like interrogation piece. And I think the thing, and we mentioned this in the video, but I think one thing about Brooklyn Nine-Nine that it is a sitcom. It is 100% a sitcom. Like it is a comedy, but you can tell the people writing it have an affinity for like cop shows and murder mysteries and stuff like that because it actually plays as a pretty good cop show a lot of the time, and it actually has like really interesting like mysteries and things like that in it. And this was just a good example of one. It's just fun seeing Jake, I think, interrogating people. One thing, I think that's a highlight of the series in general. And then to have him and the captain together, playing off each other. And then also which I'll talk about this some in keeping tabs, but it's also playing off a pretty famous episode of the show Homicide, which Andre Braugher was in. And then plus you get all of a sudden I forgot his name playing the
Sterling
the
K.
one
Brown?
being interrogated. Yeah, the amazing Sterling K. Brown playing off of the two of them, and it's a trifecta of genius.
Yeah, bottle episodes can really elevate a show if they're done right. And this is one. And when I say bottle episodes, it basically means we're only focused on a couple characters and they're in the same environment the entire show. And it allows for it to really breathe and explore some things that you don't usually get a chance to explore in 22 minutes. And I think this movie sings based on two primary.
Movie?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good of an episode of a sitcom that I called it a movie.
So good.
No, the two things that make this episode sing, I think, and you've already mentioned both of them, is number one, it's able to explore the relationship between Holt and for Jake, right?
Peralta.
Holt and Peralta, their relationship is a really great, fun, and meaningful part of this show. And it gets to explore that in some really fun ways. And then, Sterling K. Brown, he's so good in this. I think he won an Emmy for this, at least was nominated for this episode. And
really?
He's so good in this. And it's a really great piece of television. It's really well done.
I think I should probably just watch it then, instead of just sending it.
Yeah.
You should watch the whole show. It's a great show.
Yeah,
I can't. I'm obsessed with another show right now. I can't.
Like Grey's Anatomy?
But more about that and Sterling in my Beyond the Sins. I'm just like, I'm so excited. I just want to get there so bad today.
All right, well, let's move into the video
so
then.
So you watched The Predator? By the way, that outtake worked out beautifully. The one from The Predator. I was so happy that actually worked because I really wanted, because that's like one of my favorite Sterling K. Brown moments in anything. Not that The Predator is like a great piece of work, but that moment, and he's really good in it. So
yeah, Danae, what did you think about this video since you didn't write on it?
Are we trying to get to Beyond the Sins as fast as possible?
Yeah,
because
for
my
you.
answer is just like, it was so good.
The rest of the videos for the week, we'll spend a few seconds on.
I want to know who is responsible for the whole Button Tuesday tip thing.
I think that was me.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that?
Yeah,
I think Aaron added to it. I think Aaron massaged it a little bit.
Yeah,
was there
combine.
something actually to that? Did one of you actually search for buttons and get lost in a Google search?
I Googled, what was it? I can't remember what the line.
Connie Buttons.
Huh?
There was a character called Connie Buttons.
Yeah, and so I don't know what made me do this. I guess I had a Danae moment, and I just Googled Connie Buttons, and that was the first thing that came up. So all that's true. And then I think Aaron added a little bit at the end, like after, because I don't think I had the thing about the narrator actually making something or trying to make something.
Okay. It super did. It was like, this is one that I feel like I would super write, where it's like, I just lost 12 hours to this, search. It reminds me of that. It had that vibe to it. So of course I really loved that one. And I want to know all about your Tuesday tips for buttons. So
it was just the way Brogger said Connie Buttons. It's such a funny moment, and it just stood out to me. And so I was like, I'm going to Google Connie Buttons.
I think it's Brower, isn't it? Is it Brower or
Brower? Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I was just making sure.
I think it is.
And then just I wrote down several, but just in seriously in the interest of moving on.
No, say them all.
No. Was the hiring now sign inside the PD? I don't know why that one got me, but I stopped it and chuckled for a little bit on that one, just thinking about, all these perpetrators being brought in for questioning. And it's like, do you want to be hired?
Well, and I bet places do that regularly. I just thought it was odd.
Well, like in a Subway,
the idea of it, yeah.
You go in for a sandwich, you're like, you know what? I do need a job. That's how I got my first job at Taco Bell. I was literally ordering a taco, and the person that was taking my order was like, you've got a really great personality. And I was like, thanks. And then he's like, we're hiring. Oh, really? Sure, I'll apply. And then I got the job. Before I left the restaurant.
That's exactly how I got my job at the NYPD.
Well, and maybe that's why you keep fast food in your car, because working in Taco Bell, you got so used to that environment. You're like, I need my car to smell like this all the time.
I was used to leaving my job just reaking of tacos.
Oh,
and so
I worked fast food. I remember reeking of fast food. I smelled like Chick-fil-A, but it wasn't any better.
New drinking game rule. Take a drink every time Jonathan mentions something that's in the outtakes that you haven't heard yet.
That's all I've got, though. What do you guys have?
Aaron did a great bit about questioning the timeline. I thought that was really, because it was like, and I think Barrett kind of chimed in on that too, because it was weird. It was like, it was taking a really, like, they were like, what were they doing? Like where did they go for like 4 hours?
It's crazy, the timeline in this. Yeah. It's insane.
That's actually reminding me of one that we're going to talk about when we get to the Hangover, like just those pointing out the strangeness of the passing of time. Like, how does this work? What's happening?
And I love that we pointed out that Aaron wrote this one too, that the show they have some of the best cold opens of any series.
Oh,
ever.
They're so good. Yeah. I just think Andy Samberg must be like his sense of humor, like he gets how to
maybe
take to take 2 minutes and do something really wacky or funny and just leave it on the perfect joke. Like the cold opens in Brooklyn Nine-Nine are legendary.
And then I had some stuff Danae mentioned written down, but the main thing of it, this was one I thought was going to be insanely hard to do. I mean, I was like, because I knew this was going to be the one we probably chose because it's the most popular episode probably of the series, or it's at least considered like in high regard. But the whole thing is just them interrogating him. So I remember when this got on the schedule, I was like, "Whew, that one's going to be rough." But it actually ended up being really fun, and I think it turned out really well. So that was nice.
You guys took a lot of the ones that I had. I definitely mentioned the Connie Buttons thing. I also wanted to mention but a sin on me is still a sin on you. That one made me laugh quite a bit. Let's move on to Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Pants Tent. It's not called a pilot. It's called The Pants Tent. This was true. Also a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan and I writing on this. What is your experience with Curb Your Enthusiasm, Jonathan?
I think Danae's seen every episode. No, I've only seen a few episodes, I think it's all been first season stuff. I don't really find Larry David very funny. So
you're not alone.
I don't dislike him or anything. Like, and he's been on SNL and stuff, and he's had his moments, but I don't know. I never could get into the show. I'm sure it gets like amazing because you've got a lot of talented people behind it. And I love Cheryl Hines. I watched her on Suburgatory for however long that show was on. So, I mean, I love her. And I like Jeff Garlin, and I do not like Richard Lewis. I'm just going to be honest about that. I don't find Richard Lewis funny. But I don't know. It's okay. I don't have much experience with it though. But this was a lot of fun to play around with. I was just shocked at how bad it looked.
Yeah. Danae, do you have any experience with this?
No.
Yeah. Does the video make you want to have any experience with this?
It just says Danae. Like, it just says Danae show.
Yeah, this is a Danae show down the line, man.
Some old guy bitching about a lot of stuff. I mean, that seems right up your alley.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing it somewhere in a video.
You sound like you're having like an existential moment.
It's weird. Oh, I think I remembered it. I think it was in Men in Black. I think I sinned Men in Black, and it was like when the alien at the beginning turns into that model. Do you remember? Like she goes behind the bush and turns into the model.
Yep.
And there's a magazine there.
Yeah, in a bulimia joke. Yeah, I remember.
Yes. The magazine opens up to...
Was this the new Men in Black?
It
wasn't international.
3, I think. It was either 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 2. I know what you're talking about.
And it's the one where like there's a female lead who's actually like a princess or whatever, and at the end she gets zapped up to space. It was that one.
Lara Flynn Boyle. Yeah, I remember now.
But I remember like at the very beginning there's this magazine that opens up, and there was an advertisement, like maybe like even a double page spread or something for this show, for Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's interesting.
And I was really confused about what it was, and so I was trying to figure it out. And so now here we are, like actually sinning it, and I have no idea why anyone watches this show. I really don't.
Well, and this
I don't know why it would be a center page spread. I don't know why it would be in Men in Black. I don't know, but then again, I'm not a Seinfeld person either. So if there is this, kind of like vibe to it where everyday life is humor, which is super true. Like having been on the radio every morning, you have to find something to talk about from your life and find a fun way, find a fun angle on it that turns the mundane into something interesting. Because if we all think our lives are boring because they're normal, then that's kind of depressing. Our life is filled with hilarious little moments. And so I can totally understand how if you get the right team together, the right group together, you can turn these little minutia bits of life into something like magical. And maybe Seinfeld did that really well. I just didn't watch it. But like this one just seems like Golden Girls of Seinfeld. I don't know. I'm not interested.
You're insulting Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls of Seinfeld.
Golden Girls is great. Am I wrong in thinking, though, that this show has had like insane gaps between seasons? I mean, I know the most recent one obviously was because they kind of brought it back, but weren't there other seasons?
Oh, yeah. They were done after 4 seasons, I think, and then came back 3 or 4 years later to do a couple more, and then came back another 3 years later to do a couple more. And I mean, let's put it this way. There are 10 seasons of the show, and the first season was in the year 2000. There have been 20 years of 10 seasons of this show. So yeah, it's kind of gone away and come back a couple times. I saw my first episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm earlier this year, probably around May, I think I watched my first episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I had watched all 10 seasons within 3 weeks. Wow. So it was one of those, it's very easy to binge because it's a very easy background show, and the humor doesn't demand your attention in any way. It just demands your awareness occasionally. And I don't know, this is the weird thing about binging it this year. I don't know that I really liked it, but I watched 10 seasons of it. So I don't know if that just says about there aren't that many options right now because stuff is out of production, or, if
But you like to finish things too, right?
I am a completist.
Something.
Yeah, that is probably mostly it.
You know what's another good show to binge? Golden Girls.
It's true. It's true.
Can you binge Golden Girls anywhere?
I don't know. You could probably get the DVDs.
I think that would be interesting. Or like
I even
Three's
like Golden
Company
Palace. I did not realize how much of a Golden Girls fan I was. Anyways, go ahead.
Oh my God.
Danae, that thing you're talking about, that observational humor, is the show. It's Larry, and in his mind really does find some interesting takes on just normal life and just some normal things. And I think you see a lot of those in Seinfeld, and then you see a lot more of them here. The difference is, especially at the beginning, this was just, do it yourself. This was DIY television. Like it was, they all have the same names as they do in real life. They, the video and sound work in this is just atrocious that first season. Eventually they get a lot of that stuff together, and then also like Ted Danson becomes a character as himself, him and Mary Steenburgen as themselves. And then the show...
Oh man, now I'm going to have to watch this stupid show. I love Ted Danson.
Yeah, Ted's great, and he's great here too. And then the show gets into Seinfeld stuff, and if you are even the slightest bit of a Seinfeld fan, there is a season of this show where he writes a new episode of of Seinfeld, not a special welcome back reunion episode of Seinfeld, an actual new episode of Seinfeld, and they perform it on the show, and it was intoxicating. I am not like a huge Seinfeld fan. I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was really funny, but there was something so nostalgic about that season where they were doing Seinfeld and Jerry's on there and Julie Louis-Dreyfus, and I mean the entire cast is there. That was my favorite part about binging this, was that season, and just being like, oh wow, I didn't realize there was more Seinfeld content out there that I had just missed. So yeah, I thought I'd mention that as part of the show as well. Plus,
I never realized that was like a whole season. I just assumed that was like a guest spot on an episode or something.
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're there for the whole season, and I shouldn't say the whole season, but I think for most of it. The other thing is, you will see actors in this that are like well before they became famous. That's a lot of fun too. Like Zachary Levi is in an episode of this, and I swear he's like 15. Like, he looks like a baby. Like, it's so fun to kind of see these people just pop up in this show every once in a while, and there's several of those moments. So I guess I had a great time with it, even though structurally I'm not sure I'm a fan of kind of what's going on here. So it was a weird experience for me, that's for sure.
Because it's kind of like, I'm that way with Seinfeld too, because I remember when Seinfeld started doing that whole thing where Jerry and George were writing the TV show about nothing, and I don't know. It's really weird because it's like Seinfeld, especially there at the end of the series, I feel like really towed a fine line between being like,
it got a little too
clever,
meta for its own good. Yeah.
Or like it towed a line of being clever and actually just being lazy and just kind of going through the motions. And so it's like, I don't know, this kind of just felt like later seasons of Seinfeld.
Yeah, no, this
what
show,
I've seen.
I think this show is supremely lazy, and I think that's kind of the point. I really do think that's what Larry David set out to do.
I think Larry David is lazy. Well, I mean, he's a genius. Like, he's a good writer and stuff. I'm not saying that, but like, just every time I've seen him, at least his outward persona is that he's just kind of a, whatever. So, like that kind of guy.
Let's switch the language then, because maybe there's too much negative. Maybe instead of lazy, the show is just efficient. The show is.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe so.
He found a way to create content that, broke down some of the barriers of the stress of it. And, that's fine. More power to him. He's done 10 seasons of it, and they just announced last week that another season is coming. So
yeah, that was the wrong word. Larry David is definitely not a lazy person. I didn't mean it that way.
No, listen, I totally get it. Like, it's a perspective of kind of the workaholic culture, to call things lazy. But I mean, he found a way to do it. So yeah, I think good on him.
Because if he's a lazy person, then what have I done with my life? So
you're right, exactly. Let's talk about the video itself. Danae, we'll let you go first again, since Jonathan and I wrote on it.
Yeah, you can stop looking at your phone, Danae.
Guys, I'm just like super spaced out. I really only have one written down, but that doesn't reflect that I didn't enjoy the video. But it was just the one that stood out the most to me was the I'll be up too late if I drink coffee has now become the get off my lawn of beverage conversation.
I just hate when people say that, so I had to say something about it.
My mother says that all the time, but she says it about tea, not even about coffee, which the caffeine content in tea is much smaller. So
my wife, almost every night, it'll be about 8 o'clock, and she'll be like, "Should I have another cup of coffee? Should I?" I mean, she's like asking me, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I mean, drink it or don't drink it. But do we have to have this conversation every night?
You're processing marital issues in your scripts? That's weird. I've never done that.
No, you just made me think of that when you said your mom.
Guys, I gotta tell you, the last couple nights, we're gonna go way into old guy territory here. The last couple nights, I have had restless leg syndrome, and it's like been hard to get to sleep. Mm-hmm. Like, my leg just wants to kick. I'm like, why do you want to kick, leg? Like, what's the deal? We're going to sleep now. Why do you want to do this thing? And so because I couldn't go to sleep, I Googled, restless leg syndrome, solutions, that kind of thing. And the article I found basically said, "Oh, this means you're getting old. Just deal with it." I'm like, great, thanks, appreciate that. It's good to know.
And that can turn into constant leg pain. Apparently,
I'm not ready for that.
My brother has had in the past restless leg syndrome. It's not fun.
Yeah, a little RLS. Anyhow, I'm old. I'm very old. What about you, Jonathan? What are some of the stuff that you liked?
Well, I mean, I liked the corduroy boners thing.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites.
No, but the best thing about that was like when I wrote it, I did the whole like where we, do 2 examples of merging the things together. And in my mind, I was thinking coroners because that would be corduroy plus boners. And then Aaron, when he narrated it, he just said coroners. And at first I was like, well, that's not what I meant. And then I was like, I think I like that better though.
Isn't that fun when that
it's so
happens?
weird. Like, just the idea to think that, like, coroners is a combination of corduroy and boners.
You'll never think of the people who take care of dead people the same again. It's just, they're coroners.
We mentioned the look of the show. It's insane. Like, it looks like it was just shot, like, on a Super 8 camera. And it's insane. And I know it doesn't look like that the whole way through. I know it becomes, like, a legit looking show. But that was absolutely nuts to me. Yeah. Aaron writing all about that whole weird scene with Richard Lewis and Larry David where they're clearly just trying to improvise and it's not working. And they just, that was like the best take, I guess.
Well, I know. Yeah. He's like laughing and he's like, I shouldn't be laughing. I'm angry. And it's like, I know.
Shocker, Richard Lewis, not a good actor. Cannot play himself. No, Richard Lewis is... he's fine. I know he has fans. I don't want to console. I've just never personally found his brand of humor funny.
Sure.
He is, though. I will point out that he is very open about anxiety and depression and things like that, which is obviously a great thing.
Yeah, awesome.
The clothes are not invitations; they're decorations. I meant to ask this at the time and kind of forgot about it. But is that something you've actually heard before, or was that just you rhyming?
Nope. That was me in the moment coming up with a way to say something I felt for a long time.
I liked that one.
So
I was going to ask you that. Is that like clothes or calling clothes decorations? I don't know. It sounded a little odd to me, but then I was thinking this is, it's fun to rhyme, or Aaron has heard this before. But you liked that, Danae? That's good.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's something very real about women wearing clothing that is revealing, which then immediately gets attention whether you want it or not. I remember one time I had this outfit that I really liked, and I was probably like 12 or 13 years old at the time. And I genuinely did not realize that by wearing it, I was going to be getting specific kinds of attention. And it really fucked me up a bit because from that outfit forward, have been very concerned about what I wear, because when I wore that, a lot of really uncomfortable things happened that day. I was wearing like a shirt that showed my stomach, and then the shorts were short. So then the entire day was basically men and women commenting or coming at me. Like, I got hate from the women. I got lustful comments from men, and I wasn't even, like fully formed woman yet. And so that kind of stuff is very, very real. And so I would love to live in a world where you can wear whatever you want and people just keep their opins to themselves. But we don't live in that world.
Yeah, I really liked it. I just like these days, I don't know. The decorations thing, I was like, I think that sounds nice. But then I was like, but is that offensive? But then I was like, I
just think it's a clever way
I'm not going to overthink this.
Yeah, I think it's just a clever way of saying like what is true. Which is clothing is not an invitation for an opinion. In fact, I don't think most anything is an invitation for someone telling you their opinion, unless like you're friends and, you really feel like you need to be saying something that's not asked for. My husband just told me a story of that was going around on one of his forums, and it was like somebody was at the grocery store and their little kid just started crying like kids do, and somebody came over to her and said, I really think you need to pick up your baby and hold your baby to make him stop crying. And that's just one of 1,000 examples of how people insert themselves into your life with their opinion about what they think, and maybe they're coming from a good place in their own mind, but I just think safely just don't say anything about somebody's appearance or like how they're going about their life unless you're a really intricate part of their life. Like, I have conversations with my husband regularly about how we're going to approach raising Iris, because we have to sort of have those conversations to be on the same page. And so I share my opinion about something that maybe he should tweak, and he shares his opinion about something he thinks I should tweak. That's a relationship that is just he and I. And if I want someone else's opinion, I'll ask for it. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to go.
Same for clothes.
I was going to say, Can I say something really quick though that's really interesting that kind of relates to that?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I'm actually curious if this has ever happened to you, Aaron. I'm also curious if this has ever happened to your husband. But I've discovered, and it's come more to my attention recently, I just kind of started thinking back since my daughter's been a baby, that like when I'm alone with her or her and her friend and we're like at the pool or something like that, there's this certain group of like moms that like, I swear to God, when they see a father that is by himself with the kids, I don't know if this is daughter specific because I don't have a son, they feel the need to like chime in or they feel the weird need to like, maybe they need to help you.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's that's a very gender-based normal thing. That is,
yeah, I've noticed that a lot at the pool because like just a couple weeks ago, my daughter had a friend over. We went to the pool. There was like one other family there, and they were jumping in the pool. And my daughter's friend jumped a little too close to the edge. Nothing happened, and I noticed it. I was about to say something to her, and then this other mom that was there was like, "Oh, I don't mean to intervene, but ooh, that was really close. You might want to say something to her." And I was like, "Leave me alone. Like what?" Like, give me a second. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. And then I was talking to my wife about it. And then I just started thinking back. And I'm like, this has happened several times to me. And it's always when I'm alone with my kid.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting observation. I don't think there's a coincidence there.
Yeah.
I started noticing more and more in the last, I don't know, I think since Sif Pop, whenever I was starting to think critically about what we were watching. And maybe Aaron and I had a conversation even about it on our show at some point in time, how media portrays men as parents as idiots. Like they don't know how to do diapers and they need help doing everything, like they need help. And they need someone to comment how good of a job that they're doing. Like Justin has that happen with Iris. He takes her on walks all the time. And he's said that he's gotten comments even at the grocery store, like, "Oh, you have your hands full there." The comments I get when I'm with Iris is things like, is it hard to, juggle everything you're doing as a mom? I've had that comment before, and he doesn't get that one. He gets the other. So it's just people. You'll
get the good for you.
Yeah, good for you, Dad. He gets that. Yeah.
And it's like, because I'm taking a walk with my child? Like, thanks for the pat on the back.
Or if you ever get the reference of, like, you're taking care of your child and you get the babysitting thing. And it's like, it's my kid.
God. The first time I left town for work, the first time I left Iris, and that was a really weird moment for me because I'd been there for her the whole time. And so I was processing like being away and not being there for her as a breastfeeding mother, as all this stuff. And nobody asked me how I was feeling. My friends and family asked if Justin was going to be okay. And both he and I kind of found that offensive. Like, he's a grown ass man. He's going to be fine. And if he needs help, he'll let you know. And one of my friends who hadn't called me since Iris was born contacted me. "Hey, I know you're leaving town. I'll go ahead and check in with Justin and make sure things are okay." Like, the fuck? Like, just
so weird.
So insulting. Yeah.
It's very cultural, and it comes.
It's in our entertainment.
In our entertainment comes from that cultural place of the patriarchy, right? Like just the establishment of a culture of patriarchy results in these stereotypical ideals of roles and what is a man's role, what is a woman's role in parenting, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely something to be aware of, and I'm glad you brought it up, Jonathan, because it's certainly a good topic to go into. I want to bring us back to the sin itself and kind of go a little bit deeper with that, because Danae, you talked about a very important part of it about invitations for opinions, and that sin is even more specifically talking about invitations to do something to me, to leer at me, to, whatever, like the idea to sexualize me, to make me an object, that my clothing, because I chose to wear this, is a direct invitation to you to look at me in that way. And that's a direct response to what Larry David, says to her in that moment, which is, like you wore that dress because you want people to look at your face or whatever, he says in that moment. It's like,
shoes. He said shoes.
Or shoes. Because you want people to look at your shoes or whatever. And it's just this idea that if you dress a certain way, that it is an invitation.
You're asking for it.
Yeah, that you are asking for it. And you want to get dark with that. We can get dark with that. I don't think we have to, because I think, it's an understanding of where that can lead. But I just think it's a mental shift that I will say men specifically, because I am one, need to make, and we've talked about it before on the show. It is one of my soapboxes. So excuse me as I've gotten back on my soapbox. But we are all born with a human body. We are all naked under our clothes. Those bodies themselves are not sexual things that the more we show of them means the more we are, invited to a sexual moment.
Yeah.
And I understand the instinct because we've treated them like sexual things. It becomes a, more of a ooh kind of thing. And so I just think the mental shift has to happen somewhere. So when I wrote that sin, I wanted it to be light and funny, but at the same time, try to say something meaningful. And so that's where the, not invitations, they're decorations comes from. Because at the end of the day, that's what they are. Clothes are just the way we decorate our bodies.
Yeah.
And the bodies themselves aren't even sexual. So I shouldn't say they aren't only sexual is what I should say. So yeah. So anyways, good stuff.
I appreciated it, especially because I feel like the female body is over-sexualized.
Oh, for sure. 100% for sure.
Well
and
done.
this is going to be a weird segue into the other two things I want to talk about.
Go for it.
I wanted to talk about the why would you be honest with your partner sin, because that was really funny because Aaron wrote that one. And I wrote one that was along the lines of, like, why would he have to tell her that? It has nothing to do with my personal beliefs. I'm just saying in that situation, like, he was making such a big deal about it. I'm like, you, and he comes up with this insanely elaborate lie. And it's like, why would you just say you, like, I don't know. There were so many things you could come up with if you weren't going to be honest, was my thinking. And so I had this whole thing about him lying. And then Aaron, of course, had just be honest. I'm like, yeah, that's probably the better thing to say.
No, honestly, Jonathan, I think both sins are sins the narrator would do at one point or another.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would have been fine either way.
It was
That's
just funny,
so funny,
though, that one of us was like, be honest, and the other one was like, lie your ass off. But, and then
Hide your
also
truth.
when he said Sophia Loren, and Aaron read this perfectly because I wasn't sure if it was going to come across right, but when he said Sophia Loren was once a source, that sin is immediately what I thought. I was like, what do you mean she was once a source? Like, this was 2000. I mean, 2020, she's a beautiful woman,
Yeah.
So I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, no, I really like that one too. I had that one noted as well. Yeah. The only things you haven't mentioned, I love the shout out to the Moons Over My Hammy. It's one of my favorite sandwiches, one of my favorite restaurant sandwiches, because you're absolutely right about that fish frenzy thing. It seemed like way too silly a title for a fancy restaurant like that.
For real.
And then I had to mention Chekhov's erection is sure to pop up again later, just because it's a lot of fun to write stuff like that. So yeah,
I had that written down too. Yeah, that was a good one.
All right, let's move on to music video sins. Let's talk about Trollz or not. I really don't care. If you guys have something to say, feel free. But
I apparently didn't write any notes, and I thought I did, but maybe I didn't save it or something. But
I mean, I can talk about the video itself.
Yeah.
Like the sins video. But I almost feel like talking about this song is like doing the exact thing the song wants you to do. Like it's just like it's obviously trying to make you feel awful about the youth of America.
I feel like Danae with this, because that guy is just somebody I cannot stand him. Like, and say there's no way I could ever watch him.
And that's the point.
I can't stand him personally, so there's no way I can watch him in a video and be like on board. It just is what it is.
Exactly, and that's kind of the point. So why spend a lot of time there? I'll start off with the stuff from the video. When he says she's afraid they're going to run away, I lost it. That was really funny. And then later he says they're still there, I assure you. And I don't know, that running gag really got me. I like that one. Only one of those statements is true. Made me laugh.
About wanting to be like, what, punch or...
Right, I want to fight. You don't like me and you want to fight me, I think were the two things.
Yeah,
it's like only one of those statements is true.
And you get to decide what that is. And I kind of like to imagine that Barrett wants to fight him.
But likes him. He likes him a lot. He just wants to fight him. That's what you want to imagine. It's a little more difficult to justify, but we'll go there. Viruses love buttholes. Made me laugh for sure.
Right, from what I hear.
From what I hear. And then the you're wearing 3 shirts and a jacket, so of course you're hot or whatever. I thought that was good too. Lots of great stuff in here. What did you guys have?
The only thing other than the stuff you mentioned, I remember was just the narrator trying to figure out how much coverage the pasties were being used for.
Right. Yeah. How much of it was nipple? Yeah.
I just thought that was humorous.
I mean, if you've done any research, there are a lot of different shapes and sizes.
I just want to say, it's the areola. Okay, so I know it's one of the things you guys have said you like is when I explain women things. So The colored part. Anyway, I'm kidding. I'm not going to go.
I know. God bless Nikki, though, man. She's always you never know what's going to happen when she's in a video. So she's fun.
Super confident. I love.
Yes.
That's something that I think that's interesting about these personalities that you see in these music videos, and obviously a lot of it's like a persona.
Mm-hmm.
Even Beyonce has talked about it. She kind of had that Sasha Fierce thing where she's like, you have to kind of like step into an alternate version of yourself where you're just confident enough to put your entire body and talent out there.
In what conversation did we just have about?
I think Halsey is someone that's also very confident.
In what
she doesn't.
And we just had that conversation about the human body and about that, it doesn't have to be sexualized just because it's showing. So, I think there's room to be consistent in viewing this video and thinking of it in a certain way. So, yeah. Which
is one of the reasons I love some of the sins, because it really just takes it out of you being in this moment where like maybe it's hard for you not to feel sexual vibes off of a mostly naked woman in a pool who's twerking. And I understand that might be difficult for you, but then you read these sins or you hear the sins and you're like pulled out of it and you're having a good time. Like the one that's like, sure, it may look sexy now, but think about how this room smells after hours of shooting. I was like, oh my God.
Barrett clearly had fun with this. The social distancing thing was interesting too, because those were obviously funny jokes, but then I was thinking this was probably shot a while ago, but then he's wearing a mask at one point.
But that's kind of a thing though.
Yeah,
Masks,
well, that's true. So maybe it has nothing to do with Corona, but it was just interesting. I'm like, when was this shot?
Yeah, that's an interesting question to ask. And how many forms had to be signed if it was during the Rona? The only other thing that I have was that you guys got to see the very first time that Behind the Sins has our very own commercial promo on a channel.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Our voices as a trio are like now officially out there into the world. And so it's kind of an exciting, I don't know, it's just kind of an exciting thing to do.
And our animated people. Yeah. Our animated looks.
My first time specifically to be introduced as a voice on the channel was at the Trollz video. So that's great. Wonderful. It's perfect.
I'd also like to take this opportunity to once again apologize to anybody who sees that cartoon of me and then sees me in real life and realizes how much I do not look that cut. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like I always just look like the same, like little pudgy dude. Like I never I don't get the enhanced muscles or anything.
Yeah,
which
Aaron,
is fine.
you got swole.
Yeah, I got some pecs.
But, by the way, I tweeted this out. Did you see that tweet going around with, I retweeted it, made a joke, but with, I can't even think of her name from the Star Wars, The Force Awakens and stuff, but she had that sign and it said, someone masturbates to you, or you're someone that someone masturbates to, which I thought was really funny. And then I retweeted out something like, I'm going to disappoint more people than my wife. Great. Or something like that. Like I was just being silly.
I think the quote was, if you have any level of visibility or popularity or something at all, someone has masturbated to you.
Yes, that was what it was.
And that's just such a wonderful thing to think about. So let's take a second. Let's all let's just move on.
Well, I'm just if you've done that to me, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
Hey, don't be sorry.
It's weird.
Hey, I'm not making an email about this one.
No, I don't want to know. For so many reasons, I don't want to know. But I don't know. I thought it was a very fascinating tweet because it's probably very true.
So let's move on, shall we, to CinemaSins. We'll start with The Call of the Wild. This was a Scott Scher script, Jeremy and Barrett writing on this. I thought this movie was just okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. What about you, Jonathan? Did you get a chance to see it?
I know Chris didn't want to, and I didn't really care to, so we didn't do a mini. I think there was other stuff coming out that week too, so we didn't do a mini pod. My daughter didn't really have any interest. So I was like, I'm good.
Danae, I know I specifically told you not to watch this movie because of the animal abuse in it. And if I had realized there was going to be some in the video, I would have warned you. And I'm sorry. I didn't watch it till today, and so I didn't know.
I didn't get a warning that there was a shark in the Trollz video. And I didn't get a warning that there's animal abuse.
It's not a real dog, though. I will say, right? It's all
kind of
CG.
beside the point. It's not a real shark either. But
I wouldn't want to watch the animal abuse either. I'm just saying the only thing I could think of that situation was, it's CG.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't look interesting to me at all. And I read the book when I was a kid.
I don't remember the book at all.
I don't remember much about it, but I did read it because it's Jack London, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is one of the
And,
sins I liked, was like pointing out that he wrote the same book twice.
Yeah,
There was somebody
that
in
was
the comments
great.
somebody in the comments was like, well, actually, the one is about a wolf becoming domesticated and the other is about a dog becoming undomesticated.
Well, hey, look, the
It's
Jack Londoners.
Yes, okay, so he wrote the reverse book, but it's the same thing.
But I had no interest in seeing it, and it wasn't one I felt like I had to watch before I watched the video. So you can take a drink on me this week, I guess. But and Harrison Ford, I don't know. I don't get really excited about Harrison Ford movies anymore either, because he hasn't done much. He's
pretty good in
moved
this.
the dial. He seemed like he was fine.
There's something about his performance in this that I was like, oh, okay, this should be kind of the new part of his career, like kind of the embracing of the grumpy old man.
Did you
kind
read
of thing.
what Barrett had to say about writing this one?
I didn't.
Okay,
it's the exact opposite. I'm sure Barrett and I are often the exact opposite opinions on things. So yeah, I actually thought this is kind of a place where he works really well, because that Indiana Jones part of his career on Solo, I think that's behind him. Like, that's not something he should try to re-embrace.
Most definitely, most definitely.
So
I mean, it would be kind of interesting to see him like in a Tarantino film or somebody like that. I mean, that could be kind of.
It would still be this kind of version of him.
He'd be a
if it's going to work.
Yeah.
I really thought he felt very comfortable in his.
Well, it feels like he kind of is a curmudgeon, though, right? Because he's always been like, acting's a job, and he doesn't want to do interviews, and
right. Yeah.
So I think that works well for him in this stage of his life. But I'm also like Danae. I mean, and the other thing is, anything about dogs, I just assume there's going to be death or something. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take a lot for me to watch it. And there was nothing about this that interested me.
And I wouldn't recommend it. It's just
if I'm understanding correctly, it's about a dog that starts off as a good domesticated dog and then is stolen and sold and abused and sold and abused, and then basically eventually finds his way to an old man who narrates from beyond the grave and then dies after an attack, but the animals sort of saved him a little bit before he died.
Yeah,
and then
he goes off
to become
a wolf.
A wolf pack leader.
Yeah, he fell in love with the wolf gal.
That alcoholism thing might have been stupid in the movie itself, but I will say that shot in the video of the dog holding the bottle and looking back at him before he goes out was one of the cutest things I've ever seen.
Hey, I will say this. I kind of disagree with the bad CG. When I watched this, I thought, wow, that's really impressive work. It's obviously CG a couple times because of the personality of the animal. The personality of the animal is amped up quite a bit. So those parts feel a little off, but I thought they did pretty good work with it.
I didn't know when I saw the trailers, I didn't know it was a CG dog until there was one shot where he was like eating snow or something, and I was like, oh, that's not a real dog.
Yeah, the one shot
for a minute
when he's eating snow with a fork and spoon. Yeah, that was the one that kind of gave it away for me too.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So here's what Barrett and Jeremy had to say. I'll start with Barrett. Barrett says, Call of the Wild was better than I thought it would be. I typically don't like animal movies because one or more of them always dies, but I guess the CGI actually mitigated that. I know some people are saying the CG wasn't all that distracting, but it was for me. Harrison Ford looked like he actually gave a shit for about 30% of the movie, which is 29.5 more than he has been giving his work for the last 10 years or so. Ooh, a little burn from Barrett. And then Jeremy says, this is an Evan Steven movie. This is what happens when you counter every good decision with a bad one.
Even Stevens, right?
Yeah, I think you say even Steven.
Oh, what did I say?
He might have written it, Evan, though. Yeah.
Did I say Evan Steven?
Yeah, you did.
I need that to be a real person now.
He can hang out with Connie Buttons.
No, you're super right. He said it's an Even Steven movie. I genuinely thought that was like the director or something. Anyways, this is what happens when you counter every good decision with a bad one. Hire Harrison Ford? Great. CGI dog? Fuck. Hire the dude from Untouchables? Great. Dump him after 3 scenes? Fuck. It's not even that the movie is bad. It's just aggressively, and I believe intentionally, average. Oh, and then this is all caps. The dog cures his alcoholism by getting mad when he drinks and then burying the alcohol and sitting on it. Oh my God. This is one of the stupidest things I've seen since Mel Gibson's militia solved racism during the Revolutionary War in The Patriot. And yeah, Ford isn't trying. I can't remember the last time that he did. Maybe 41.
And these people have not seen Expendables 3.
Yeah, apparently.
So I'm really, really disappointed.
Evan Stevens is an actor, and he had one role as George from the 1972 hit "When the Legends Die."
I remember that one
He was
so
George
clearly.
in that one, so that's who you were thinking of.
Well,
I don't even know
surprise,
what that
surprise,
movie
y'all
is.
can't drink. I've seen that one. I watch it every Thursday.
There's also an Evan Stevens, who is an actor who's been in 5 movies recently. 2014's A Brief History of the Holidays. 2015's The Pocket Five. 2015,
Are these Hallmark movies?
2015 Daredevil Deleted Scene.
I mean, guys, 2015 was a really good year for this guy.
2015 Green Lantern Corps. He played Hal Jordan in
That must have been an
short.
animated thing.
And then in 2017 in the short called Nearsighted, he played Happy Guy. So there, that's Evan,
And
the
this
more
guy
recent
is-
Evan Stevens.
It's so unfortunate he wasn't in Call of the Wild. Like, even if he was just like an extra, like
Right.
that would have been so amazing.
So good.
Let's move into the video. Danae, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. I want to reiterate that this looks like the most depressing movie ever. So I was really
It's not, but it is
looks
depressing
like
at
it.
times.
Wait, I'm sorry. Have you seen this? Have you seen The Mist?
shut up.
Talk about depressing movies.
Jeez Louise, Mother Mary, Pete the Dragon.
Which has been requested now multiple times to be merchandise, and I want to say we're working on it. I have a couple of ideas. So anyway, I loved the Sin. This dog as Albus Dumbledore. Also that the Mighty Ducks of dog sled teams, slog dead teams. Wow, I've had too much coffee today.
That's all right. It's your fart pun of the episode.
And then the Rufio dog. It was like they were, the script is constantly comparing like what the dog is to other things. Albus Dumbledore, the Mighty Ducks, Rufio, and I was really just enjoying that run-on, kind of series. And then the highlight for me was Jeremy's Scooby-Doo impression. I really enjoyed that.
Yes, that was great.
Oh, it was
Where he
amazing.
Like, Raggy. It was the best.
Yeah.
It was the best. I loved Groceries. Shouldn't the buck stop there when they say buck stop? I thought that was a great little call. A little too Alaska when he was using the ice pick as a pointer. It's like, isn't that just a little too Alaska? I liked that. This movie is Warhorse for dogs, that running joke. The dog is helping him center the antlers, as dogs do.
As dogs do.
As dogs do. Made me laugh as well. Lots of good stuff. What about you, Jonathan?
You guys mentioned some of this stuff. I love the "Did you not warn Buck? He speaks English, you know."
Yep.
Is that Bradley Whitford? Get out. So it was funny the way Jeremy read that.
Yep.
And once Alaska thawed, it's thawed as fuck. I thought was. I thought was very funny. No, it was a really funny video, especially because a lot of the times when I haven't seen the movie, I have a harder time knowing what's going on. But this was a great video.
Yeah. Let's move on to The Hangover. This is an Atkinson share script, so Chris and Barrett writing on this one. Let's hear from them first. In Barrett's hatred of The Hangover, I'm very excited.
Yeah, he literally starts off by saying, "I hate The Hangover so much. Flames on the side of my face."
Oh, I love it.
He said, seriously, it came out in 2009 and it's aged so poorly that it's absurd. Objectifying women is nothing new for Todd Phillips or comedy in general, but this is just a different level. Bradley Cooper's character is an asshole until he isn't. Heather Graham has a literal heart of gold, and Justin Bartha's fiance really doesn't give a shit that he's hours late for his own wedding without explanation. Also, it's impossible for them to do all that shit they claim to do in one night, which is 100% true.
That's always true, though, right? Any of these movies where it's, my wife gets mad about that all the time. Whenever it's a movie where it like takes place in one night, she's like, "I'm not watching that because it's bullshit."
That's such a funny like barrier to entry, you know?
It's
Like,
almost the opposite of the issue with Brooklyn Nine-Nine: The Box, right? That shouldn't have taken place over a whole day. That should have been 2 hours.
I'm not kidding. Anytime we see like a trailer for a movie at the theater where it's like all this crazy shenanigans in one night, you know, it's like
She's
one
like,
night
no.
to do them all. She's like, "I'm out. I'm not watching this fucking movie."
oh my God, I love that so much. Chris had a little bit more to say. He said The Hangover is still funny. It's just that the stuff that passed for humor back in 2009 is no longer passable. And Isn't that so true? YouTube drama right now. Super true. So it loses roughly a third of its luster, although even back then, I remember some reviews pointing out the sexism, racism, and other various isms. But the stuff I found funny then, like Bradley Cooper's "fuck this tiger" and his character's brazen flipping off of casino security cameras, and Zach Galifianakis' performance, save for a couple of outdated things, is still funny.
Say his name again, Danae. Say his name again.
Zach Galifianakis. It's like Snuffleupagus, right?
Yes, you got it exactly correct.
I don't know what it's Zach. Is it Zach Galifianakis? Is that it?
Yeah.
Is it just I think you just added an extra like naff in there.
Galifianakis.
But like, I don't disagree with Barrett that it doesn't hold up well, and I do not like this movie. I've never liked it. I didn't like it when it came out, but I do think though, even in 2009, it was supposed to be really brazen and like over the top with its like, because I mean that's just Todd Phillips, right?
Oh yeah, it was supposed to be transgressive. Did Chris have another? I think I cut you off before you got Chris's last sentence.
Oh no, that's super okay. I really wanted to go back and try to pronounce that guy's name. All right, I found Ed Helms grating in this for some reason, and I generally like him. The sitting aspect of The Hangover is actually easy. As Barrett mentioned, there's no way they did all the stuff in one night, and even the picture montage at the end leaves gaps. The other thing that bothered me was how Ken Jeong's, is it Jeong? Jeong? Guys, this is terrible. I'm so sorry.
It's that guy's Jeong,
gang,
right?
Yeah, Jeong.
I don't know. Jeong. Ken Jeong's gang kept finding the crew with no problem over and over, but apparently they couldn't find them anytime before during all the drunken mayhem. My favorite thing to pick on, for some reason, is how Stu's buddies bring up his girlfriends, played by Rachel Harris, and is given less than thankless role. Infidelity brought about twice in 6 minutes of the movie, and the second time seems to have zero awareness that it was brought up before. The second time it's brought up is such a weird scene. Also, it's so unbelievable that Stu, who has to correct his buddies about who on the cruise she slept with, was it a waiter, a sea captain, screws it up at the end when he's finally telling her off. And those are the thoughts of Chris and Barrett.
I agree with Chris about Rachel Harris, though. I was really glad they had that scene. I love Rachel Harris, and she's been underused her entire career. I mean, even there's a great episode of CSI that, oddly enough, Chuck Lorre produced. That she's in, and if you ever want to know how good she can be, I highly recommend checking that episode out.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I guess I didn't give my thoughts on the movie. They're pretty similar to what everybody else has said. I don't like it, but I do get that some of that stuff is funny. I thought it was really interesting. There's a line in the video that says something about the funniest movie I ever hated.
Yes,
and
I like that a lot.
I think it's just such a perfect description of some movies that are like this one, where it's like, yeah, this movie's pretty awful, and also I laughed a lot, and and we took like 4 or 5 sins off for this horrible movie. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's a tale of two movies.
And even though it's only been 11 years, I don't know that people, especially younger people, I don't know if they know how big of a hit this movie was. I mean, it was insane.
Oh, it was huge.
Like,
it's among the highest grossing R-rated movies of all time.
Yeah,
I actually saw this one. Shocker. But
oh, wow. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that.
I know. And I just remember like thinking at the time that it was the most ridiculous, continuing to like one up itself movie that I had ever seen, which is, I think, part of what was so drawing about the movie, is because you really didn't see it going there. Like the moment whenever it sort of camera kind of pans across the room and it's got all this just insane paraphernalia, and there's like a missing tooth and a baby and a tiger. And those are all things that are just so absolutely over the top. And of course, it doesn't make any sense when you start to question it. But as you're watching it for the first time, you're just like, almost like your brain is in sort of the shock of it. And then you've got these different, really great actors doing their thing and bringing something to the table that was also unique, because you kind of have this it was like a different take on a bachelor party. I think maybe even like the dude bro movies that you see before, just like dude bros hanging out at a party and like dude bros being like this and that and blah, blah, blah. And it just, this sort of broke into a different comedy category for a lot of people, and it was for me. That's kind of like it was just like a standout thing. Like, what the hell am I watching? But also, what? And then you're it's a mystery at the same time because you want to know what happened. And so if you're just watching it once, then by the end you're just like, okay, they figured it out. But then if you're watching it to figure out what's wrong with it, it's terrible.
I will say the one thing that shocked me is because I saw it when it came out. I've never seen it again. I've never seen the sequels. That was the first time I ever saw Ken Jeong. So I completely forgot. I completely forgot about like his inflection and his accent in the movie. So watching the video and when he started speaking, I was like, oh, that's bad. I mean, he agreed to do it, mind you, but I'm just like, really? Like that? I mean, I don't know why that seemed to bother me more than just about anything.
It's not like he doesn't still do. He did that in Crazy Rich Asians. He did. Did he? Yeah, it wasn't quite this extreme, but yeah.
No, you might be right. You actually, you're right. So we did that one, right?
And I don't think when you talk about problematic, I don't think it's quote unquote problematic when you are doing dialects of your own race. You know, the problem comes is when you're using for entertainment somebody else's, you know, culture and dialect and that kind of thing.
I felt like that was it. And I don't even know if it's problematic. That was just the one thing out of all like the homophobic slurs and the way women are treated. That was the one thing where I was just like, whoa, that didn't sound right. And probably a lot of it's because I've just seen him so many times since then.
Right. It almost feels problematic because, you know, he doesn't speak like that now. Yeah. That there is a weird thing that your brain does, like, oh, he shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, it's certainly different. I did look it up. When The Hangover came out, it was the 6th highest grossing R-rated movie of all time.
Oh wow,
it's crazy.
It is currently the 19th. Hangover Part 2 is currently the 8th, and was the 3rd highest grossing R-rated movie when it came out. So the sequel.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize that one did better.
Yeah, Hangover Part 2 has made $586 million.
Oh my god! Have you seen the sequels?
I have seen the sequels.
I think I have.
Since you reviewing them.
Yeah,
I think I remember watching it. I don't know that I could tell you what happens, but I think because I watched the first one, I think I watched the second.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember the second one. Isn't it? They do the same thing in a different country.
Maybe.
And then the only thing I remember about the third one was in the trailer, a giraffe gets beheaded.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I missed that one.
I was like, I'm not watching this.
I think after watching the second, I was like, yeah, I think I can leave this one behind now.
The sequels, do you remember them, Aaron? Were they any good?
No, they aren't. And they aren't as funny either. So basically the sequel is 2 years after the Las Vegas stuff. Ed Helms is getting married, and so they're in Thailand.
To Heather Graham?
That. So I don't think so.
Well, that's who he like hooked up with in this one, so I didn't know if it was her.
It has a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, 44% Metacritic, was not widely loved. Let's talk about the video, shall we? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, Danae, what you got?
Well, we like to talk about our own struggles with our own relationships on this show. And right out of the gate, the sin about who schedules the bachelor party for the night before the wedding. Man, my husband did that. And it is still a sore spot in our marriage to this day. He's let it go.
Yay! Let's talk about marital pain.
I didn't really. Well, we were in Jamaica though, so I hung out the night before, but we were all at the same resort and everything.
My God,
no, I've ever had a bachelor party.
Guys, we drank root beer and watched Hitchcock movies for my bachelor party. So.
Did you do it the night before though? Because that's still bad.
I think it was actually 2 days before.
So the more to this story though. So did he get to the wedding on time?
He was still drunk
during the wedding.
He was actually hungover. I don't think he was still drunk. If he listens to this, he'll be like, "I wasn't drunk," and I'll say, "Ha ha." I can say
our
that
spouses
you're not
don't
going
listen
to
to this
stop me.
show.
No, his best man to this day, I don't like him because of what happened that night. Yeah, it's awful. Don't do this. Don't be that person that takes somebody out and gets them trashed the night before the wedding. Just don't do it. It's not cool.
Yeah, I mean, my best man was my stepfather.
Just let me know and I'll I'll just come at him, I'll channel all of this rage that I have in me that I quell. If ever it comes up, it's almost like, oh no, here it comes again. So it's such a weird thing to see it in like a Sins video because it strikes such a nerve with me. I genuinely am furious on the inside right now just thinking about it.
Yeah, I had my stepfather be my best man, and that was because I wanted him to, because I probably would have had my dad, but my dad had passed away, so I had my stepfather. But I was just thinking, like, if we were in Jamaica, if I'd had Barrett as my best man, we would have been like in Cuba or something. Like, I would have like woken up in Cuba, but he was. But Barrett was in my wedding. But yeah,
everybody has their own stories. Mine is certainly bitter, and that sin like hit me right on that spot. So that was just kind of a funny
I'm
thing.
with you though. If he's like, because I mean that's your day, that's the wedding. You shouldn't be like hungover and that's not cool.
Like
I'm with you.
I thought maybe he was just really nervous, but it turns out he was really sick, and he was green because he was really, really messed up from the night before. And he doesn't drink normally. So, and the guys knew that and they just pushed him to the, I mean, he was kind of going along with it, but like, oh my God, I was so angry, especially because I had a promise from all of them that wasn't going to happen.
They were like, bro, you got to drink, bro.
I have never connected to the idea of, last chance to be crazy and be stupid, like,
I know.
or even first chance to, like, the whole turn 21 thing. So you got to get drunk or, whatever. Obviously I come from a very strict upbringing. So, but I bought into all that too. So it's like, I just didn't see the need to do that kind of stuff. So.
Dude, I gotta tell you though, strip clubs are fascinating places. I'm not being pervy or anything. Like I haven't been to very many, but when I was younger, they're fascinating. Especially if you like have conversations with the strippers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's such a weird environment. Like it
really is. Especially so, like I've been to 2, and I was attempted to be recruited in both, which really that's not a conversation I expected to have. All the guys were going, and I'm like, Danae, you want to come along? I'm like, sure, I'll go along.
That happens.
And then I went along, and then they're like, do you need a job? I'm like, nope, I'm super okay.
Danae,
and then
I'm totally with you. This happens to me walking in the mall. People be
all
like, "Hey, do you want to come strip for us?" I'm like, "Look, I'm just out for a trip to the mall, please."
But
Where are you going to the mall?
It's just like you just go in though. It's just like it's like music from like 1985, and like there's just glitter everywhere. I mean, it's like in the air.
You're breathing glitter.
It's actually this is a weird comparison, but like I found out having a daughter that like little girls bleed glitter. Like I swear to God they do, because there's just glitter fucking everywhere for like the first 6 years of your daughter's life. But anyways, yeah, fascinating places. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. It was, for me, the strip club that I went to, the second, they had the main stage, and then they had like these little miniature stages you could I guess walk around. And one of the guys I was hanging out with, I was like, well, I guess I'll go over there. And so I went over and I'm like watching this girl dance, and he was talking with her. And so I kind of joined the conversation while she's dancing. So, and in my brain, I'm like, this is the strangest thing I think I've done.
Yeah.
And it's just such a weird thing. Anyway, she's talking about how she's trying to get like enough money to get a bus ticket back home. And I'm like, girl, take all my money, get your butt home. Your mama needs you. Get off of the stage.
Lying to you.
And right. And so I was starting, and so I was
Hopefully
like, oh my
wasn't.
God, I'm going to help her. Like, I have a car. I fucking I don't work tomorrow. I'm off. I will drive you to Oklahoma and get you back to your mama. Like, I go into this like protective mode. And my buddy was like, hey, Danae, like, first of all, like, you're kind of killing the mood. And then also, she's lying to you, and she doesn't need to go home anywhere. She just wants money. And I was like, oh, you know what? I think I'm done. I think I'm going to go ahead and leave. This is a really confusing experience for me. So, anyway, back to what we're actually sinning.
I like that though. You're kind of killing the mood. I hope he really said that, because that's hilarious.
Or maybe it's just the depressive atmosphere that's killing the mood.
It was so depressing. It was really sad.
It is.
Depressing.
No
and
offense
strange.
to people that enjoy doing that, but it is a very depressing atmosphere.
Yeah, I don't want to go back in there, but I do actually. There's an organization that's local here, and a lot of the women that dance, obviously they're dancing for, their own reasons, and perhaps it's self-empowerment, perhaps they love to do it, perhaps they're in a situation where they can't kind of get out of a cycle. And there's actually a company, an organization that they go in and they have no agenda. It's just to go in and have conversations and create friendships with these women, so that if they are trying to break a cycle or get out, that they have a resource of somebody outside of that circle of men and women all trying to kind of use each other for whatever reasons. Or I'm not trying to make assumptions, but I'm just saying if that's the situation. And so they go in, they give them gifts, like earrings or like fucking brownies and shit, just trying to be good people to them, give them rides to the grocery store if needed, and just be a listening ear. And I've actually worked with that organization a couple of times. I think they're really good, a really good organization that doesn't judge anything. They're just making sure that the people there have an outlet, especially since sex trafficking can really be something that kind of couples alongside of those joints sometimes. So
it's very I think the powerful thing about that is the non-judgment and also the non-assumption. The idea that you don't go in there assuming anything about why somebody is doing what they're doing.
No.
And that way you can be very much aware of when somebody is in a bad situation, is in an abusive situation, does feel trapped. Those are real things. But what else are real things? Are people who are empowered by it. And so,
well, this has been an interesting conversation to have.
That's always an interesting episode of BTS. Let's talk about the Hangover video some more, shall we?
I really liked, and I kind of referenced it earlier, but the brilliance of just breaking down the timeline, but specifically going there's 15 minutes basically when you start to kind of break down when they have all this time to how did the tiger even get inside? Did it go through the lobby? How did this person survive in the trunk? Did they take off all their clothes? And then all of these questions are happening in this time frame. So I really loved all that.
They weren't kidding about that Vegas heat, man. That's the freaking desert, dude. That's awful out there. There's no way he survived that trunk.
My favorite sin though was when he says "forgive me" in the sense she does. She fucking does. I just love that so much.
Yeah.
Just the delivery of this, that happens. And the other thing I wanted to point out is we have another new promo on this one for all of our other channels, and I'm really proud of those new promos. That was it.
To be fair, though, Justin Bartha doesn't really do anything. He kind of becomes the casualty, because that's who we're talking about forgiving, right? The new husband, the guy who's getting married, the Justin Bartha character.
You are tiptoeing close to the fury of Danae here.
No. Unless you're saying, but I'm saying he didn't do anything specifically in Vegas. He got basically
he had his bachelor party the night before. That's all he had to do.
It was 2 nights before. They were supposed to come back the day before, but then they couldn't find him because they're assholes, and they put him on. Spoiler alert for The Hangover. They put him on the roof.
I do want to say, if we're comparing, I guess I have forgiven in some ways. But man, that's one that's I cannot let it go in a way.
And you wouldn't forgive that quickly because she doesn't even know what happened. And he's there's no way.
I will say it was good that I didn't know until after the wedding what had happened.
Yeah, might not have gotten married.
Yeah. No, I seriously would have. No, I wouldn't have done anything. I would have been dude, are you kidding me? It would have given me more context. I thought he was just really fucking nervous.
But that's something you can hold over him forever. I mean, that's a card.
I try to do really, really good to not bring it up very often because it is one that I genuinely will have a hard time with forever.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
I'm just trying to give you some positives. It's nice to have a card to play.
Jonathan,
sometimes
when you've done something poorly.
Right.
I don't play marriage like that. I don't pull that out.
Oh, me either. Go ahead. What?
Jonathan, what did you think about this video?
You guys mentioned some of this stuff. I will say I loved "In the Air Tonight" is not that loud, rocking, or a song. I thought that was great. Just the way Jeremy delivered that. Not wanting to be married to Heather Graham anymore. She is, and also Heather Graham is one of my longtime movie crushes. So I thought that was very fitting because ever since License to Drive,
I'm with
Mercedes Lane.
I'm with you.
And I mentioned the Rachel Harris thing, which I loved. Oh, mistakenly trying to roll credits when they said Road Trip. I thought that was great.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of missed that.
I've never seen Road Trip.
I kind of missed that because of the new system. Because they don't say Road Trip. They show the road.
I had to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to go back.
Yeah. I have a few that haven't been mentioned. I love the observation of the standing champagne bottles in the pyramid of cans. The idea that this room was a disaster, but for some reason there was a beautiful pyramid of cans that hadn't been knocked over, and also they set up bowling pin champagne bottles, and those somehow stayed put. Like, I thought that was really smart. Laugh You Puppets, balls, really made me laugh. I thought that was funny. Funniest movie I ever hated, I mentioned. The specificity of the hotel room number not being on the key card, where he says 2 bowls of Skyline chili. Just anytime there's some specific reference like that, I just think it adds to the humor so well. The Sinning It Anyway because I was raised right made me laugh very much. And that was, I think, the when they slowed down the stunt doubles and showed, how clearly it wasn't Bradley Cooper in that scene.
Yes.
I will say the Dan Band, who hires the Dan Band for their wedding, many people may not know who this is, but poker player, maybe the most famous poker player, one of them of all time, Daniel Negreanu, hired the Dan Band for his wedding last year. So,
that's funny.
So I did want to put that piece of trivia in there. And then we have another beautiful random example of the same thing getting used in 2 different videos. We've got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out references in the outtakes here, as well as in the Brooklyn Nine-Nine video, too. So
weird.
There were some really funny outtakes in this one.
Yeah, good stuff. Overall, I think it's a really funny video. Had a good time. Let's move on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to tell a story from putting together the content from the week, maybe a Google search, some strange research, a deleted sin, whatever the case may be. Jonathan,
I'll start.
Oh, Danae.
I actually didn't write on anything, but I did look up, do men have breasts during this episode, so I thought it counted.
Yes. Yeah. And
that's it.
And we've decided they do, or maybe they don't.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, so my keeping tabs was how long did Phineas and Ferb run, and for how many? No, I'm kidding.
That's right.
I looked that up during this episode. No, I didn't have a ton of stuff. I didn't really have anything big, but I did do a bit of a dive into Homicide, because the show Homicide: Life on the Street, because initially I was watching the Brooklyn Nine-Nine episode and I didn't remember this about it. And I was sitting there thinking, like, well, with Andre Braugher in there doing the interrogation and stuff, I can probably get some Homicide outtakes. Then I go look into it, and then I'm reminded that one of the first season episodes, probably, I don't know if it's the most popular episode of Homicide. If there is a most popular episode of Homicide, nobody really talks about that show anymore, which is unfortunate. But there's a show called 3 Men and Adina, and that it's basically the same premise as this episode of The Box. This episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And so then I decided to do that sin where it was 2 men and Adina. I also thought it was funny. I noticed somebody on YouTube actually wrote a whole long diatribe about how, if you didn't know, this is referencing blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to be like, yeah, jackass, we have a fucking sin in there that references it. But
get it out here, Jonathan. Get it out here. This is
Jonathan
your platform.
Rage is my favorite.
So that was just kind of funny. Like, I was going in looking for outtakes or something with Andre Braugher, and I maybe have like Ned Beatty or somebody, with something that Peralta was saying. But then I just rediscovered that was actually a specific reference to an episode. So I thought that was really cool. And also, although there's not really an easy way to watch it, and the DVDs are out of print, but if you do somehow have access to that show, it's Homicide: Life on the Street. David Simon, creator of The Wire. It's what he did before The Wire, and it's brilliant. Like, it's just such a great show. Did you ever watch that show, Aaron?
I did not.
I did not.
And another interesting trivia from that show I will mention, though, is that what's his name? Hold on one second. I had it written down. Richard Belzer plays John Munch in the show Homicide, which actually he ended up playing the same character for many seasons on Law and Order SVU. And he also was in an episode of X-Files where he played John Munch. I don't know if you remember that, Aaron. So at that time, I don't know if it's been beaten, but at that time he had he was in the Guinness Book of World Records for character played on the most series.
Same
he had
character,
played him
different series.
Yeah, same character.
Well, now that I know,
and he's got to have the most episodes, because between Homicide and SVU, I mean, Jesus.
Now that I know that those shows are in the X-Files universe, I have to watch them.
Well, there you go. Watch all 21 seasons of Law and Order SVU or whatever they're on right now. Man, talk about a show that's depressing.
Yeah.
Because that's Special Victims Unit, and
I watched one episode at the height of my interest in those CSI type shows. And I was like, nope, not for me.
My wife and I watched it for quite a few seasons until Chris Maloney left, because we really liked the two of them together. It was Maloney, and all of a sudden I cannot think of her name, and she's still on the show. I hate that, but everybody will know what I'm talking about. But anyways, that's why. But we watched it. But then when he left it, and we had a kid, and it was just kind of like, man, a lot of girls get like kidnapped and have things done to them on this show. I don't know that I want that in my head right now. I have a little baby at home. So we eventually got off, but I can't even imagine. I'm sure there's people that have watched every season of it.
Yep. I researched Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, speaking of Punch-Out, and was really pleased to find what I found in that. It was just perfect, because Peralta is acting like he's like an expert on Punch-Out or whatever, and yet there's this completely different way to beat that character that you don't even have to worry about his crazy spinny punch thing. So I played Punch-Out a ton growing up.
Yeah, me too.
So it was kind of fun to do that. I also wanted to mention this. We have a sin in the Brooklyn Nine-Nine video that we had many discussions about, because it's a sin about police rush to judgment. And obviously with a lot of what's going on in the world, we wanted to make sure that we weren't being insensitive, that we said what we wanted to say. Even in the course of a silly, stupid comedy video, we want to make sure we're not, putting out anything that's hurtful or insensitive. And the idea of police rushing to judgment has been a problem for a long time. And so I thought it was interesting when watching this video that Captain Holt really is just all gung-ho about rushing to judgment. He's like, I don't even need to see the evidence. This guy's obviously guilty, and obviously it's a joke and it's a comedy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention that this script was written May 23rd, and everything started happening. I think George Floyd's murder was on May 25th. And so it was one of those things where everything that was happening in the country was kind of coinciding with the process of writing this script about a show about police people. And so we definitely had some of those conversations. And I think, we came down at the right place where we're doing what we're doing. It doesn't change a lot of the stuff. Even that particular sin still works. It's, it's valuable and it says what we want it to say. But I did want to mention that, because even the show itself recently has said we're throwing away the first 4 episodes of our season or whatever it was.
They also donated a lot of money to Black Lives Matter.
And I just think we are putting the idea of what a police force is and all those things into such an important, different perspective right now. And I think you're going to see a lot more shows that deal with the police kind of have to wrestle with this, because that it has just been shown and portrayed in such a particular way in our culture for so long that it was an interesting thing while putting this together to kind of wrestle with that ourselves. So I did want to mention that.
I think you're right, because I'm really curious. Like, I have a feeling like the cop that just goes off on his own and does everything himself, like the lone gun. I don't know how that's not lone gunman. I'm trying the rogue cop, I guess.
Yeah, rogue cop. Yes, exactly.
Even if it's supposed to be like a protagonist, I have a feeling that's going to be gone, at least for a while.
You think of like
that's
The Shield, like it's just
which is a great show, but but that's and that was not, they were not, definitely not glorifying it in that show, because those were bad guys,
right?
But even something like Lethal Weapon, which is Mel Gibson, I didn't mean to mention that one specific, but movies like that, or like John McClane. I mean, I have a feeling characters like that are going to be gone for a while, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I don't feel like I correlate movies to real life. So, but I know a lot of people do. Like Danae talks about how she has personal reactions, because she's like, that's not a person I'd want to hang out with. So why would I watch this fucking show? And I think you have a lot more of that. I've noticed with what people tweet about and stuff. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how a lot of these shows handle it. Like you said, like Law and Order SVU.
Yeah. Well, and I think like there are certain shows where, it starts off and it maybe should be obvious that this isn't real life. Like you think about like any CSI type show.
Yeah.
You know, when that show kind of came out, I think that at least in my life, I could speak from my own experience. I'm like, oh, well then why does it take so long for evidence to be processed if you can just like do this shit, right? And then you have to kind of like, oh, this isn't real. This is just an extreme dramatization of how police work works. Or like when House came out, or, you know, any kind of show, it's not real. But then if you, growing up watching TV and growing up in an entertainment kind of world, it takes a minute to figure out what real life is versus what the entertainment that you're growing up is. That's, you know, unless you have someone kind of coaching you and telling you, hey, this isn't real. So I personally am excited for change in our conversations, you know, however it comes out in our media, whether we're getting more accurate portrayals of race representation or gender representation, that I'm all for that. If we're going to change kind of how police are portrayed or like real life is portrayed, that's okay too. But I think like the most important thing that should happen, hopefully in everyone's home in the ways that they're comfortable with, is a conversation about what is real and what is not real in our media versus our real life, and taking an opportunity to point those differences out. Because like I didn't have the kinds of parents who sat down and watched TV with me and like kind of showed different things. So I have very unrealistic expectations of relationship for a lot of my life because I thought that Disney was real and it's not, it turns out. And so like, and other things too. So it's interesting too, as writers, Aaron, to your point, to like take a moment and try to point something out, whether it's about how clothing isn't an invitation or how like this is not how it really works. I think it's important kind of for us as writers to be talking about what's happening in our culture and to have that be in our writing somewhere in a way to represent change. At least that's from my personal perspective.
No,
I've
I
actually
agree.
already put a few things in scripts since George's death. Just trying to kind of experiment with the idea of what does it mean for us to try to, you know, bring that conversation to the table as entertainment. You know, we're actually entertainment. We're not like a news channel or something. Our YouTube videos are meant to be funny and snarky. So it's strange to try to bring in something so serious, but it's good to find those little touching points where it can be obvious that we are aware of it and we are thinking about it and we are trying to make sure that that's kind of breaking through, in my opinion.
There's a lot that has to be done, but on the outside, like on the people behind the scenes, I find it fascinating that we have so many women, and not only women, but women of color directing like franchise films. And sometimes some people try to bring it up as a negative, like that's why the movie didn't make as much money. Birds of Prey was one of the victims of that recently. So I think we're moving in a good direction.
I think it's also
on and off screen.
I think it's also important to say, you know, we're three white people too. So, you know, like
absolutely.
Not that our perspective is important for us to wrestle with in voice, but just that our voice is not the key voice to be listening to on these topics.
No.
So
that's actually why I decided not to launch my podcast. I was actually like, I had the first episode edited and ready to go, and then George Floyd was killed, and then it's just like, I am the last voice that needs to be at the top of the chain right now. So let me just get out of the way. But I think it's important for us to talk about it here because this is kind of like this is what we
your
do.
First episode was called "I Love Cops," so that wouldn't,
Jeez, no. My first episode was supposed to be a conversation with my husband.
About the night before you got married?
Oh, God, that did not come up. You know, it's just such an interesting time because we're catching up now in our script writing process to where, you know, all the things we do are so many weeks in advance. And so here we are now going, okay, this is the moment when our script writing meets with what's happening in culture. And so it's important to talk about those things, in my opinion.
Well said. Let's move on to the comment section.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to pick a comment or two from the videos for the week, or from Twitter or Reddit or Discord. Lots of great conversation going on there as well. What do you guys have Cool.
And I'll go. I had a really quick one. I was actually I was going on Twitter this morning and tweeting out the Curb Your Enthusiasm video on our TV Sense Twitter account, and I noticed that somebody had tagged us at David Batista and just said the video on the Big Bang Theory is better than all of the show, and I'm going to add a sin for that. And I was like, well, thank you.
That's nice.
And it probably, I mean, as someone who's seen like almost every episode of The Big Bang Theory, I think I agree with you that our video was better.
Wow. Nice. Danae, what about you?
The one that I had originally wanted to do today, but I'm going to have a couple extra from Twitter from last week. This one comes from SoundCloud, and it was from quite a while ago because I didn't remember that we have a SoundCloud for our podcast and that there's comments there too. So to all the SoundCloud listeners, apologies. Didn't realize that you were there, and I'm sorry. This one comes from R2 Fan, who says, I am totally addicted to Honeycomb Hotel. I don't recall if it was here or on your other podcast, but I will blame you or thank you for that one. That one made me really, really happy because it's one of those obscure games that I was excited to share with you guys that just it's one of the ones that I always go back to. So I'm glad that somebody else enjoys that. In fact, I really enjoy every time you guys reach out and tell me that you enjoy one of the games that I recommend. I don't know why. Probably because I just don't want to be the only gamer of this entire tribe of people.
It's nice to be heard. I'll go ahead and do my comments, and then Danae, if you want to talk about some of the other Twitter stuff that's been going on. The first one will be in the "You Done Messed Up" Aaron category. This is from I think this is from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Levin says, you said that they should put respect on David Attenborough's name, but you didn't call him Sir David Attenborough, which is what his full name is. That itself is disrespectful. You are absolutely right. I should have known to include the Sir in there. Sir David Attenborough. Please accept my apology. And then in the no, I think you're wrong category.
No, you are.
There were some comments, and I won't read them, about and we actually did talk about this in the writing process, about the fact that, here's the comment. I get that Philip can't hear them, but why would Peralta and Holt be having what is clearly a discouraging conversation where he can clearly see them is the sin? And some people were saying, well, that's a two-way mirror because it's an interrogation room. We had this conversation, and I think conclusively came to the decision that is not the two-way mirror. They are out in the hallway, and that is a regular window because you can see it even inside the interrogation room, that there's a regular window by the door there. And so you also see him directly looking at them
intently, he's intently
studying what they're doing. So I did want to address that because a couple people said
we
it.
Definitely did. We went back and forth on that. That was a conversation.
I think we've got enough receipts on that I feel pretty comfortable that we're right there. So I wanted to mention those two. Danae, what else did you have that's happened on Twitter?
Last week, we released our year kind of in review episode, and I posted on Twitter, like, what's your favorite or what's some standout stuff. So many mentioned that they love to hear the three of us just cut up and laugh, and that they're laughing too, and that we keep them company. Like Bill Brown said that he would struggle to point out a specific bit. It's more like I go for a long run every Thursday after work, and a 2-hour episode of BTS fills that time, and it keeps me company when I'm out in the middle of nowhere.
Keep up the pace, Bill. Keep up the pace.
You can do it. You
got this, Bill. You got this.
Darren W says the camaraderie between the hosts. I mean, it's cool to hear the behind the scenes stuff and recommendations, but I would listen to you three talk about the best way to serve bologna.
Okay, well, let me tell you.
No, Aaron.
Ketchup.
Barbecue.
Have you ever done bologna and ketchup?
Oh God, gross.
If you put the bologna, would be the only thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you put the ketchup in the bologna, and you roll up like a cannoli, and you have a cannoli bologna.
Yes.
Or just don't eat bologna. There's better meats out there. Pick something else. I mean, bologna's fine in a pinch. I mean, I'll eat it, but yeah, there's other stuff.
And then also the mention, I think actually, Aaron, you kind of mentioned this one already, but the struggling to have Aaron keep it in the format. He loves it when you say, let's move on. But then Danae and Sam keep talking about the previous topic. Also loving the tater tot references.
Did you just say Sam?
I think that's what he said in the comment because he was referencing my
Sam?
Twitter.
I'm sorry. I'm reading the tweet, and so it's Sam Loomis.
Oh, it's a Twitter handle. That's why I got confused.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, because he was adding me.
I super should have said that differently.
No, no, that's ours. I was like, I don't remember. Is Sam around? Where's Sam?
There's all these former online poker players that swear that think that's my name.
Yeah, and that was
poker
from Sweet Chicken Sir.
Man,
so,
thank you guys. You really, it's really, I think, probably difficult to understand how much that means to us. Like it's one of those things that you put that out and then people were just like, and you were basically just asking about the podcast itself, but they were so specifically loving on us. And it's just one of those things that, I don't know, it's, you know, sometimes you wonder if people are listening and then other times you realize, oh, not only are people are listening, they're having a great time. So
yeah, and that's really important to us.
And they're loving on us.
Yeah.
From a safe distance.
Let's move on, guys. To Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Let's chat about something else from the pop culture world that we've seen recently or experienced or played or whatever the case may be. Danae, why don't you go first?
I'm so excited! I found my favorite cartoon ever. I'm so excited to share this with you. It's on Netflix. It's a show called Kipo. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
No. What is it called?
Shit.
Hold on. What is it called again?
Kipo? Kipo.
I have not heard of this, so I'm excited.
Oh my God. It is so good. It is like, it brought me joy. There's just so much shit happening in the world, and it's important to stay awake and aware, and to like for me, my big challenge is to stay present and to continue to find ways to like not look away when the videos get hard because, you know, life is difficult. And so like I've just been opening my soul up to seeing reality and the darkness of reality, especially for our Black brothers and sisters in the world. And so I've admittedly, it's been really hard. And so I decided to just one afternoon, like a couple weeks ago, I just was like, okay, I want to see something else instead of forcing myself to open my eyes to this reality of, you know, what I consider to be my friends and family are experiencing in their culture. I have a lot of thoughts about that I'll leave on the table for now. But for me, Kipo all of a sudden just became this bright beacon of light. And I cannot express to you how much I love this show. I'm so pumped for it.
You sure are trying, though.
What?
You sure are trying to express how much you love the show. You're doing
is
pretty good.
Is it Kipo in the Age of the Wonder Beast?
Yes.
Okay,
Kipo in the Age of the Wonder Beasts. Go watch
Age
it.
of Wonder Beasts.
Oh my God, please go watch this. I don't know. Maybe you guys don't like animation. It is something that is safe for younger people to watch. There is violence because there's action in it, like there's action sequences, but nobody dies. Like there's this, in the first episode, there's this one moment, there's this one action sequence, which the action is super thrilling. I love it so much. They do such a great job with like the unique angles that they take during these like fight sequences, and it's not like always fighting, but when there is a fight, it is so good. It's paired so perfectly with really great music. Like music that makes you happy, music that gets you like your blood pumping. It's just a different approach to a cartoon that I really love. And they write music in it. They have the most unique songs that the characters sing and perform. By the third episode, I was hooked forever, and I will actually watch the entire series again because I can't leave this world. Season 1 and season 2 are out. You can binge them now. But basically the premise is like a post-apocalyptic world, which sometimes can be very boring, but the way that the characters are introduced is unique and fun and a little disturbing. It's a little bit disturbing, which of course I really enjoy. It's just got a little bit of that serious vibe to it, but it immediately turns it back into something fun and unique and creative. It's extremely creative and vibrant colors, and they do a really good job, I think, of developing the characters. There's a mystery kind of going on, and so you're along for this mystery ride. Woo! They do a good job job of like getting through the plot points of that mystery enough to where you're not like being dragged out forever, but you're also continuing to develop this world. So by the end of season 2, there's some answers to some questions that you've been asking since season 1, and yet you're still interested in going back into the world. They did a really smart thing in season 2, just expanding kind of the people that were involved. And Sterling K. Brown is one of the voices of the show.
Oh, that's why you were saying that while we were talking about Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Mm-hmm. And the music, like I said, is so fantastic. It's got great tones of family and friendship and personal development and heartbreak and all the things that like are real, but it's so vibrant in color. And the main character, Kipo, is the perfect amount of serious and childlike. And so it has that really great kind of sweet kid show aspect to it. I actually think this might even be something that would be safe for like Iris to watch in a way. Because even sometimes the action is, even though there's like, it's like violent, it's not something that I think she would like pick up on really negatively. There's not a lot of scary things happening. There are some big like monsters and, you know, multi-armed creatures and weird things that she would see potentially. So I'll probably wait, you know, a couple years to really like see if she would like it. But I immediately was like, I want to share this with someone. So I ended up talking to somebody even on the editing team who is a Kipo fan. And we literally spent a few minutes of our meeting just listening to a couple of our favorite songs from the show, because we just danced in our chairs and listened to the songs from the show. It's such a great refreshing thing, and I really hope that you guys watch it, and I hope that you tell me that you enjoyed it and that it brought you some life and love. And that's what I wanted to tell you about today. Okay, bye.
I will add it to the list. It might be 3 years before I actually get to watch it, but I will add it to the list.
You know, it's quick. It's actually like a really nice like, little quick thing.
Well, and it sounds like something, I was looking at it. It might be something that I could see if my daughter would be interested in watching. Yeah.
Well, and if she does, please tell me. It's got some really
I'm not telling you
it's
anything.
really cool because it's a diverse cast. It's diverse in sexuality as well, so it's kind of woke that way, which I appreciate. Yeah. I really had a good time with this one.
I saw you mention it.
DreamWorks.
I saw you mention it in Reddit. Not Reddit, I'm sorry, Discord. I saw you mention it in Discord and how much you loved it, so I immediately sought it out.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched the first episode just to kind of see, and it was really great. I think people should be aware that like Netflix calls it a kids show, and that doesn't do it enough service. Like, you know, there's it's certainly
it's like a youth show.
Yeah. It feels like a little bit.
It's not a 3-year-old show. It's not like a dancing, you know, puppets show. It does have a maturity aspects to it for sure.
Yeah. So because I did that, I'm going to be calling in a Chip then and making you watch something, since I watched something that you love.
No. You don't get to do that.
What? Isn't that how it works?
It's called The Mist.
Here's what I'll do. I will say, if you will finish the season, I will consider it.
Thanks. I know what that means.
But I am curious. What did you like it? Did you think, because like the music is unique and like the world is unique?
Yeah, I think unique is a great word. It's not like anything else I'm watching. Yeah. So I think I'm going to stick with
anime?
it. And watch the whole thing.
Is it? I just saw the poster.
Yeah, it's certainly
kind of like Avatar, or less anime-ish than Avatar.
I would definitely say there's some, especially in the fight sequences, you can really feel that anime style going on. But it uses modern music in a way that definitely feels different. I don't know. I really can't recommend this higher than what I have it at right now.
Yeah, I picked up on that. I picked up on that strongly.
Hey, I don't know if you guys noticed, I really like this show called Kipo, and it's on Netflix. And I
really do. I just assumed you were like, I started watching This Is Us, because I thought you were talking about Sterling K. Brown. I was like, oh no, Danae and Aaron are going to talk about This Is Us for like 30 minutes.
She watched This Is Us. You watched the first couple seasons. I think you fell off though, didn't you?
Yeah, I fell off.
Yeah,
that was one where I watched like the first 8 episodes. My wife has continued to watch it, but after like the first like 8 episodes, I was like, I can't like be depressed every week.
Stop making me cry.
I got to move on. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. You're killing me.
What have you been watching, Jonathan? What's something you want to recommend?
I'm going to do a book.
What?
If that's okay. Yeah. No, but seriously, I have like a handful of authors that like I just like the day of release. It doesn't matter if I'm reading something else. I'm picking up their book. I'm immediately reading it. And one of those recently is this Riley Sager. And his fourth book just got released this week, and I've already read it. It was really funny. I tweeted out Monday night about 10:30 because usually if I pre-order on Kindle, I guess it's on Eastern time because usually about 11 o'clock on Monday is when the book will drop. So I tweeted at 10:30 that I was refreshing my Kindle over and over, hoping that it would come a little early. And then it popped up at 11 o'clock. I read half the book that night. I didn't mean to. I didn't know I was going to stay up that late, but I just got really into it. But anyways, Riley Sager, it's actually a pen name. So a pseudonym, I don't know what he's written before this, but this was his fourth novel in 4 years. His first book was actually, and probably his most popular, was Final Girls, which Andrew recommended on an episode of Sif Pop.
Hey, I've heard of that podcast.
Yeah. But in one of your Buried Treasure segments, like a few years ago, the only reason I remember that is because Barrett was on that too. And Barrett was like, but isn't there a movie called Final Girls? And then Andrew was like, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe that was an adaptation of this. And I had to tweet you guys and correct you on everything.
Thank you.
So that's why I remember all this. But anyways, so Final Girls was like his first novel. It was a huge success. And then he's written The Last Time I Lied. And all of a sudden, I can't remember that third novel.
Lock Every Door?
Lock Every Door just came out last year. And what's really interesting about him is that, the book I'm going to talk about, the new one is called Home Before Dark. What's interesting of that he's done, I mean, I guess you could classify him as a horror author. I feel like he's more of like a mystery thriller author, but he definitely plays with horror tropes. Obviously, Final Girls. The Final Girl is very much a slasher film trope. The Last Time I Lied is kind of playing on summer camp horrors. Lock Every Door is kind of a playoff on stuff on like
inside the house thrillers kind of thing.
Apartment, well, specifically like apartment horrors. Like the apartment building itself in the book kind of becomes its own character,
right.
Kind of like something like Rosemary's Baby, or maybe even like The Overlook or something like that from The Shining. This is Home Before Dark, and this is his kind of deep dive into haunted houses, specifically like something like Amityville Horror, where it kind of becomes this sensationalist thing. So the plot of the book is that 25 years ago, a husband and wife and their little girl, she was 7, they bought a house called, it's a Victorian estate. I can't I didn't write the name down and I can't remember it right now, but it's this big estate that they find, and it's much bigger than what they need, but the price is so good they've got to go check it out. And of course, what they find out is some things have happened at the house. There's been some deaths and stuff like that. They still decide to take it. And then 20 days later, I believe, something like that, they leave in the middle of the night. They report to the police that like all this shit's going on at the house and they can't stay there anymore. And then the dad writes a book. He writes a best-selling novel called House of Horrors, detailing everything that happened in those 20 days that they were at the house. And then you go 25 years later, the dad has died. He's left everything to his daughter because him and his wife have divorced. And the daughter finds out that her dad never sold the estate. So she actually inherits the estate. And she has never, because she was so young, she really has no idea what happened when they were kids. And the idea is that the book is bullshit anyways, and she's always kind of believed it's bullshit. So she uses it, and she's also I'm throwing a lot out there. She's also in her job is she's a house flipper. She's a renovator and then flips the houses. So what she decides to do is to go back to the estate, try to get it renovated and get it ready to sell. And then hopefully she can figure out what exactly went down and what's true in the book, what's not true. Was her dad just trying to make some money, so he made up this story? And, was her mom in on it and all this other kind of stuff? What's really cool about the structure of the book, though, is that they intermingle the chapters. You get chapters where it's her in the present day trying to figure out what's going on. And then every other chapter is a chapter from the book that the dad wrote, House of Horrors. So you get like the book within the book. You actually get to read all of that too. And it works like gangbusters. It is an amazing, I don't know, because all of his stuff has been optioned because he's a very popular novelist now. I don't know if this has been optioned yet. I honestly don't know how you would even make this. I mean, you could make this straightforward into a movie, but I think you would definitely lose something, because I think the coolest thing about it, and this is only something you can get from actually reading a book, is the way it's structured. That was like my favorite thing about it. And both storylines converge at the end, and they're very satisfying. And I loved it. I still think Final Girls is probably my favorite book of his, but this might be my next favorite now. But literally I just finished it last night. But it's a huge recommend. Home Before Dark. If you've never read Riley Sager before, I recommend reading all 4 of them. You don't have to go in a specific order. I mean, you could definitely read this first, but can't recommend him enough, and hate that I have to wait a year for his next book. That's the only thing that blows. I need to start like letting these settle in like a fine wine or something, and maybe read them over a week as opposed to 2 nights.
That I feel that way about when I binge a show sometimes. I'm like, why did I do that? Now it's over. What was I doing?
I can't say that I know that feeling. That's interesting.
But binging a show, you never do that.
No, about the feeling afterwards, like, why did I do that so quickly? Like, that's my whole efficiency, is like my whole brain space. Like, do it as quickly as possible and get it all inside you. So that's kind of my thing.
That's what my college girlfriend. I don't know. I can't.
It was a nice try.
Yeah.
All right. Mine is I guess mini-series. I think we'll call it a mini-series. It's from earlier this year. It's from the BBC, I believe, or it's from a British network at least. It may be ITV. But it is a 3-episode mini-series. Each episode is about an hour or just under an hour.
I think I know what you're going to say.
And
go ahead.
It tells the true story of a quiz show scandal from England, from when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire started. And
I saw like commercials for this whenever I was watching Killing Eve.
Oh yes, because Killing Eve is also
well. And I had seen the $1 Million Question before and didn't realize it, because that thing gets thrown around on Facebook and Twitter a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was the same thing until but I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So this was a story I was pretty unfamiliar with. I love, if you've paid attention to things I love before, you know how much I have love in my heart for the movie Quiz Show. Mm-hmm. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. And
Me too.
There is something about TV production, entertainment versus actual competition, and how quiz shows can blur that line and all that stuff. That's really fascinating to me. And the added thing of when people try to beat a system, that's another thing I love. Like, there's a whole documentary on the guy who beat Press Your Luck's system. And this is another fascinating quiz show story where he figured out, after studying tape after tape of Press Your Luck, which is the No Whammies game show, exactly what would light up at exactly how long before the biggest prize on the board would light up. And so he had the timing down to where he just was on for like 2 weeks straight and won millions and millions of dollars because he could just play the board perfectly. I love that kind of stuff.
Good for him too.
Right?
Like
totally.
I don't. That's not cheating.
That's not cheating at all. And what's interesting about this event that happened with the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in England, which, by the way, the background stuff on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire I found really fascinating as well. The idea of how they thought of the show, how they created it, all that stuff was really good. And then add to it this beating the system kind of thing, and where is the line between just beating the system and actually cheating? And this goes into that in a really interesting way, because I don't know that it tries to answer that question for you. And it not only doesn't try to answer that question, I don't know that it really tries to answer the question of, were they actually guilty of doing what they were accused of doing? Now, they were, I guess, I don't know what the England term is for it, but convicted in America. They were convicted of this crime. They actually, a jury came back and the majority opinion said, yeah, they did this thing. But if you watch this show, I don't know that it's that cut and dry. And so it has that added benefit of being something where I walk away from it going, what do I believe? What do I think really happened here? And that's really fun for me to kind of have those kind of moral quandaries and considerations. The performances are great. Michael Sheen is great as the game show host. Chris
that's
Tarrant.
like perfect casting.
Yeah, he's so good. Matthew McFadden or McFadden maybe plays Charles Ingram in the movie. You may know him from Succession. You may know him from the TV show Succession. and he's really great in this as well. The performances are great down the line. It's so interesting. I loved it. I will say it's not streaming for free anywhere. You will have to purchase it from either Amazon or Google Play.
Or if you have cable, if you actually still have cable, you can watch it on AMC.
Oh, okay. I did not know
So it's
that.
on demand, like it's on AMC on demand. That's how I watched it.
Okay, fair enough. So it is a high recommend. A lot of that has to do with the fact that it just appeals to so many parts of why I like watching true life movies. But yeah, it's really interesting, good stuff, and it's one of those that I can't wait for somebody I know to watch it so that I can have like conversations about it, because it really kind of leaves you kind of, do I think they did it? Is what they did wrong even? Like that, all those questions that you can talk about.
I think they did it. I personally, I knew this story. Like I said, I knew this story before going, and then realized I had actually watched the whole thing with the coughing, and he's the was it Google? Was that the question?
Yeah, the final answer was Google.
Which I was thinking in my head, I guess you just know things or you don't, because I was thinking in my head, that's a super easy $1 million question, but I guess a lot of people don't know what that is. But
would it have been an easy question then, though?
I learned that in like elementary school or middle school.
I remember in a Googleplex is like the next one.
But I guess if you don't remember.
Yeah, I guess not.
Now, I will say this. If I was ever in a situation like that, I would overthink everything to death. So even though I would be like, I know that's the answer, I'd be like, well, maybe it's really 100 zeros and not at that, I'd be going over in my head. But anyways, no, I really liked it. I love game shows in general. And like you, I think the intrigue around stuff like that's so interesting. I do think the difference between that and Quiz Show, though, is in Quiz Show, the producers of the show were behind it.
Correct.
And
which is why some of that here too. There's a little bit of that here too, which I really liked.
That's true, and there might be more than we know.
Right.
But I know in Quiz Show that's directly referenced, and so that's why the Quiz Show thing, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I mean, yeah, it's shady, but that's a TV show, I mean, and that's how they're choosing to produce the TV show. I mean, if you found out that Survivor was cheating somehow, you would probably be like, oh, that's not as good as if I didn't know that. But at the same time, you'd be like, yeah, but it's a TV show. Like, I don't know. Like the Quiz Show thing and I guess that was a different time, but I've never really understood why he was like, just like his life was over because of all that. This is a little different. I mean, because you're talking about if they did do it and they just did it themselves. I mean, that's you're stealing money, basically. I guess you could look at it like that. You could look at it as fraud or whatever.
Or you could look at it that the producers didn't do enough to protect themselves from things like that.
That's true. That's true. Because is there a rule that says somebody can't cough?
Right? Like, I find it really fascinating.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
I agree. Because you've also got a live audience in there that's hearing the question themselves, know, and I mean, it amazes me people don't just shout out answers because you're just not thinking about it, you're just like, but yeah, no, I'm with you. I thought it was great. It was the perfect amount of episodes too. I don't think it could have really gone on any longer.
Yeah.
And the cast is perfect. So yeah, it's high recommend.
I was really impressed at the angle it took and that it didn't paint them as, obviously guilty or bad people. I really liked that. I think I'm with you. I think if you pushed me to make a decision, I think they cheated in the way that it looks like they cheated, or at least portions of it looks like, but I don't think they should have been convicted. No. I don't think it's beyond a reasonable doubt. I think unless you can come forward with paperwork that says like you're not allowed to do this, that they signed, or even I don't even think there's proof. I don't even think there's proof that there was a plan to do this. Like
True.
The biggest proof they have is the phone call, and that's just a phone call to somebody. They don't even know what happened on that phone call.
And
so
the other thing I guess that threw people off was that he and I knew this before going in, that people talked about this, the way it's so like it's crazy how he gets to every answer starting at like the 8th or 9th question or whatever it is. And so I guess when you look back at everything, it starts looking more and more like maybe he was getting help, but that could just be the way like people talk their way through a lot of things on these game shows all the time. I mean, I've seen every kind of possibility, so that doesn't really strike me as odd.
I could talk about this for another hour probably, but
absolutely.
But that's just a sign of how much I enjoyed it. So yeah, check it out. It's called Quiz. and apparently available to stream on AMC or buy.
Yeah,
on
I assume
Amazon.
it's still on there. I watched it a couple weeks ago, but yeah, I assume it's on there for a little bit. So,
Danae, did you have any thoughts?
I just wanted to let you guys know there's a show called Kipo, and I really love it.
I'm gonna watch it.
You were supposed to pick a 4-letter title, Jonathan. Kipo, quiz.
Shoot.
I
went with the 3-word titles.
Yeah, you missed the memo. That's going to do it for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DNEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
It's time to go connect with the boys. The men saying boys, is that derogatory? I don't think it is. Let's join this party.
But as much as I like her, it's one of those things where, having watched the whole show, I really like who ends up coming in character,
person.
And the character of the character becomes better because the whole idea of them having an affair, that was the problem. If they hadn't done the affair thing, I think it would have been fine.
Hey, we probably should remember all this when we actually talk about it.
Yeah,
I was just going to say,
we're talking about something we won't talk about for like a month and a half.
And this is a Behind the Sins from the future. Play a round of guess what show we're going to talk about in a month. Yeah, posters.
Nice.
Or a poster.
And I don't.
It's okay. It's okay.
I want to show you.
I've seen the pictures.
Stop it! I want you to see where it is in my real life.
This is confusing. So your office closet also goes out into your hallway?
That's my office.
Oh, I thought that was like you went to a different room to show the second. Okay, I was confused.
I mean,
I got you now.
I understand why you were confused. I flipped my computer basically upside down.
You completely, you broke the 180 rule, as they would say in filming.
That's right.
I'm breaking all the rules.
That's what you're here for.
So we had so much love from our show last week.
Really?
Did you guys get messages?
You mean the one from this week?
I mean, I saw some stuff.
Yeah.
You mean the one that came out this morning?
Right. I got a message from somebody who literally was like, I was in a really rough place, and then just that cold intro of the stupid song that we sang completely made their day. And then just a lot of love about the show in general and what it means to people. A lot of them from that tweet.
Danae, we may be missing a career in impromptu song creation. With These Chips Are Good and This Is the Best Of show.
Jonathan, did you know that one of Aaron and I's goals in life is to create a Christmas album where we just sing Christmas songs as cats?
This is a man and his cat sings Christmas carols.
Yeah, that's it. That's right.
And Danae plays the cat. And the gist is that I'm singing Christmas carols like normal Bing Crosby style, very clearly, and then she'll take her verse, and it's all like,
oh, that's amazing.
And then the duet parts come. It's a man and his cat.
I think that's amazing.
Christmas carols.
I think you could definitely do an SNL sketch-esque thing for that, though. That would be perfect.
I decided that rather than purchase a really nice draft chair, because in my little recording closet, everything is up high, sort of at standing height. So whatever chair I use kind of has to be a higher chair. And I was like, you know what? I'll just buy these cheap director's chairs that somebody's selling on Let Go for $15. And they are so creaky. I mean, every time I move, it's like,
are they comfortable?
We can't hear you though,
it's
so
not
just
bad.
No, I can't. I can't hear
it's
anything.
not coming
thank
through.
God. It's really frustrating.
Going back though, why Christmas songs? How did you land on Christmas?
It just works better that way. It's just funnier. It's funnier. Yeah.
You don't think cats singing metal would be funny?
No. I mean, possibly that could be a follow-up album. But
oh my God, I can do my death scream.
It's just the classic Christmas album. There are so many dumb Christmas albums that come out. And so it's just kind of that classic thing.
Listen to Iron Maiden's, I think is it The Trooper is the one I'm talking. I think it's The Trooper, but there's just that what I thought of immediately when you said that, because there's a part in that where he's just going oh, like that. And I was just thinking that would be the cat.
The other thing is, from a commercial standpoint, a lot of those songs are public domain. So, like, Christmas songs are public domain, which is another reason
Christmas albums sell well.
That's another reason that there are so many dumb Christmas albums.
I wonder what the Christmas album market is now, because I remember when I was a kid, everybody had a goddamn
Well, I don't know,
Christmas
but
album.
if you can write an original Christmas song that somehow becomes, into the culture forever, like you've got it. You're good.
Was the Mariah Carey song, was that her song?
Yep.
Or was that that wasn't a cover?
She is printing money every year off of that thing.
For some reason, I thought that was a cover, but even if it was, or like Run DMC's Christmas in Hollis.
I feel like if you
one.
were to just take a step back and just say, do albums sell anymore? I'm going to have to remember this when we talk about it in the show, because I want to bring up that maybe The Hangover is like My Love Actually. So I'm going to try to remember to say that.
No, I'm very much about work-life balance. Like, it is one of my things. And no, it really looks to others like laziness sometimes, and it's bit me in the butt a few times. But I'm very much about, look, I don't have to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like,
no,
I need playtime. I need me time. I need self-improvement time. I need family time. And work is just a part of my life.
That's the good thing about our crew, too. I don't feel like anybody judges any of our choices, except for Danae. But everybody else is very nice.
I judge everybody all day long.
Well, and I'm having a weird week, too, because my wife and daughter are both home. Well, my daughter's usually home because she obviously is not in school, but my wife took the week off. Because originally, like months ago, we were going to go to Disney this week for my daughter's birthday. Yeah. So that didn't work. But she just went ahead and kept the week off because she was already off on Friday anyways, and she doesn't work Mondays. So, it's like they're both here just doing whatever. And I'm like, but I have to work. I'm confused.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about for the outtake section before we head into the podcast?
Boobs. I don't know.
All right. It's in. Welcome to the outtakes, Jonathan Watkins.
Adult diapers.
Wait, did you just go from boobs to adult diapers?
I don't know. I'm just throwing words out.
Those are your outtake-worthy concepts.
Those could go together. People with boobs wear adult diapers, right?
It's true. It's very true. People with boobs do a lot of things.
Doesn't everybody have boobs anyways?
This is a good conversation.
It probably isn't, but go ahead.
Do they have to have mammary glands to be considered breasts or boobs? Otherwise, are they just chest? Are they just,
chesticles?
Pecs?
I have no idea.
I mean, they are.
I've always heard men have breasts. I've always heard, and some men legit have breasts. Like that has happened.
Sure. Well,
I mean that.
Yeah, hormones can create.
Happen.
Yeah. So breast tissue. So I wonder what the ruling on that is.
Maybe they're just pecticles. What are they called? It's not
chesticles?
What is pec short for?
Pectoralis muscle.
Pectoralis major, pectoralis minor. Although
I got
breasts
some
don't develop
pectoralis major. That's all I'm saying. I don't know about the minor.
A quick Google search, which is always dangerous. Although breasts don't develop in men the way they do in women, all boys are born with a small amount of breast tissue.
So they're breasts. So they're all breasts. So technically they're all boobs. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say everybody has boobs.
But there is a difference. Not everybody has breast tissue. It's the actual breast tissue.
That's what I heard.
As much.
I think we're all born with breast tissue, but then as the development continues and the estrogen takes over, it shifts. But I think
so the breast tissue goes away.
I don't know. I'm Googling right now as we're talking. This is a very dangerous conversation.
It shifts.
But men can get breast cancer, right?
Yes, they can. So I think that's another.
No, they can.
That's another check mark in the everyone has breasts.
Archer got breast cancer.
Yes, thank you.
That was a whole storyline.
My 2 puppies were rescue dogs. We don't know what their life was like beforehand, but they have these obsessions, and I think dogs have obsessions with water and food anyway, but they seem to be more hyper interested specifically in anything that turns into water, like ice cubes. They flip out if there's an ice cube that falls to the floor. It is just like their favorite thing. But one of the most annoying things that they do every time I leave the car, like to come with me or whatever, when I leave the car, Reese's goes into like looking out the window mode and checking to see where I've gone. But Twix goes into dive through the car for whatever I can find and consume mode. And it's always around something that smells like food, which is great because my car is filled with just junk and trash. So he could literally eat all kinds of things in my car because I'm a car troll. I have horrible car. I'm a disgusting car owner. I'm just going to own up to that. But I have learned I have to put anything that smells like food, I have to stuff it into cubbies around the car when I leave. Otherwise, Twix eats it.
Yeah.
So,
or you could just, throw it in the trash, but go on.
That's weird. Yeah. No, because then there's not as much padding in the car when you get in.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I see that. That's a problem that people don't understand.
Yeah, it just wraps around you like a blanket, Like you just kind of like you put your seatbelt on, and then you also have everything else.
You've got your seatbelt, your airbags, and your food cushions. I get it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like extra armor.
Yeah.
It's actually a good thing in a way that I am like this person, because I get back in the car and Twix is doing this. And I thought he was going to puke. And because I'm this horrible trash car person, I immediately know that I have clothing of some kind in the back seat. Yeah. So I'm like preparing for like whatever is going to come out of this dog. It never, ever came out the whole ride. It was kind of like he got something stuck in his throat, probably a mustard packet, and that I just didn't find.
That's awful.
He's just over there. And I'm like, come on, buddy, you can do it. You can get it out.
I might be driving to Missouri today to clean a car. I might have to do that.
What's it like, Jonathan, to podcast with two such disgustingly messy people?
No, you guys are. No, my car. Now, we don't keep trash and stuff in the car because I'm real sensitive to smells. So, like, if the car smells like McDonald's or Taco Bell or something, that would lose it. But we are bad about not taking it and getting like dirt off the floor mats and stuff like that. So. Why is that funny?
As if that's something either of us have ever done.
Oh yeah, we go. There's a place in town. It's like $20. They like do your whole car. It's beautiful. We do that once every few weeks.
I'm really bad about polishing the steering wheel. I'm horrible at that. I don't do that enough. Jonathan's like, I haven't conditioned my dashboard in like a month.
Well, I don't do it. I pay somebody to like clean the car. It costs like
out of
$20.
Armor All, you guys. My big confession is like out of Armor All.
Like I'm really bad like cleaning like as far as like glass. Like I cannot I've never been able to clean glass.
Is it because of the sound?
No, I smudge it. Like I don't know I don't know the proper like mirrors, car windows, anything. Like
you're using the wrong solution. You shouldn't spit on it, and that's the trick. You don't use your spit.
I use Windex, but
oh, okay.
Don't ask Danae. She had a lip print on her car window for years.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Right? Okay, cool.
It gives it character.
Yes, it's cool. I'm selling this car to Aaron, hopefully, so maybe I'm not doing the best job.
No, I've been thinking that the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, well, the price is coming down.
I don't pee in it, so that's positive.
Oh, that's I like how that's like, hey, at least I don't pee in it. Like, who pees in their car?
I guess it's worth
millions. You shouldn't pee in your car.
I found someone who doesn't pee in their car. How can I turn that car down?
Like, how is that a positive?
You might have to scrape maggots out of the cup holder, but... All right, I'm going to shut it down. We got to get to the show. Shutting it down.
Bye. We're shutting it down. See ya. It was a great show, guys.
Hey, listen. There are people on Twitter who one of their favorite parts is me shutting it down. So I'm just
That's true. I'm
just doing my job.
Shoop-a-doop-do-wop.